Chapter 21. Who Disturbed the Ant's Nest? As the spaceship emerged from hyperspace, it made its grand entrance into the vast expanse of space. Okay, we have entered the gravitational field of planet Mygeeto. Prepare for landing, Munter announced. Tang Xiao peered out the window, captivated by the sight of a stunning planet unfolding before him. Mygeeto, the home of the Moon People and the third planet in its star system, was a world almost entirely encased in ice due to its frigid temperatures, giving it the appearance of a shimmering gem. In the ancient Moon language, Mygeeto fittingly means gem. The YT-1000 spacecraft glided smoothly towards Mygeeto. Thanks to the identification code provided by Black Godamask 2, the spacecraft effortlessly bypassed the planet's defensive perimeter. They flew past several imposing Munificent-class communication frigates, a testament to the might of the Interstellar Banking Association. These frigates, notorious throughout the galaxy, had coerced many planets into submission. Despite being labeled as frigates, these warships were colossal, stretching 825 meters in length. As their small YT-1000, a mere 28 meters long, passed by one of these behemoths, Tang Xiao couldn't help but feel a rush of excitement. The dream of commanding such a formidable battleship was a fantasy cherished by many men. As they entered Mygeeto's atmosphere, the spacecraft was enveloped in white clouds and the fiery glow of atmospheric friction, which was effortlessly repelled by the spacecraft's deflector shield. Soon, the flames vanished, revealing a landscape dominated by ice and snow. Mountains, plains, depressions, and hills were all blanketed in ancient ice, casting a kaleidoscope of colors in the faint sunlight. These mesmerizing hues were not a product of sunlight, but emanated from energy crystals embedded within the Mygeeto ice layers, the cornerstone of the Moon People's wealth in the Milky Way. The surface of the planet was sparsely populated with factories and transportation pipelines, with no cities in sight. The Moon civilization thrived underground, away from the icy exterior. Munter, following the coordinates provided by Hego, guided the spaceship to a halt beside a frozen mountain. The two mountains were linked by an intricate network of pipelines, through which an endless stream of spaceships and trains bustled, reminiscent of ants tirelessly sustaining their civilization. Lost in thought, Tang Xiao gazed at the distant icebergs, his mind preoccupied with Hego Damask II and the potential implications of their mission. One thing was clear. Any involvement with the Sith spelled trouble. Yet, from another perspective, establishing a favorable relationship with a figure as influential as Hego, a prominent member of the Interstellar Banking Association, could prove beneficial. The mere crumbs from such a powerful entity could significantly aid the Fourth Civilization. However, the thought of Hego's ultimate fate made Tang Xiao uneasy, prompting a daring plan to form in his mind. A plan so audacious that it sent shivers down his spine. Meanwhile, in the cockpit, Munter engaged in a lively debate with Quinto and Spade about the identity of the Simid they were to meet. Was he a notorious criminal or a murderer guilty of a heinous crime? Amidst their discussion, an unexpected explosion rocked one of the pipelines, jolting everyone back to the pressing reality of their mission. Ahead, a mountain loomed large when suddenly, a levitation car burst through a blasted gap, hurtling straight towards the spaceship. "Come on," a villager shouted, swiftly opening the spaceship's hatch. "There are soldiers behind him," Quinto called out. Indeed, dozens of STAP individual aircraft, each piloted by B-1 combat droids, were in hot pursuit. The droids relentlessly fired their blasters, causing explosions of ice and water mist around the fleeing car. Despite its evasive maneuvers, the car was hit by an energy beam at the rear, emitting thick smoke. A frantic Moon appeared on the communicator, pleading, "You here to save me. Help me. Help me." "This can't continue. He'll be hit," Quinto exclaimed. "I know. Take control of the turret. I'll handle this." Munti responded, starting the spaceship. The YT-1000's disc-shaped hull lifted off the ground. "Wait! The hatch is still open!" Quinto yelled, scrambling down to the turret at the bottom of the spacecraft. He grabbed the double-mounted laser cannon, aimed and fired. A green laser beam sliced through the air, cutting two individual aircraft in half and triggering a violent explosion. Meanwhile, other single-soldier aircraft began to flank the levitation car, with one B-1 combat droid firing at Semade. Munte maneuvered the spaceship close to the ground, lowering its altitude until it grazed an ice rock with its landing gear, causing Quinto to exclaim, "Are you crazy? The spaceship will crash." "Trust me, it won't," Munte said through gritted teeth. With precise control, he skimmed the spaceship just above the ground, past the levitation car, and collided with the pursuing aircraft. The resulting explosions from the destroyed aircraft were absorbed by the spaceship's shields. Munte then turned the spacecraft around, flying past the other side of the levitation car and decimating the remaining individual flying machines. Positioning the spacecraft directly in front of the levitation car, Munte matched its pace and shouted through the communicator, "Come on!" Samed, seizing the moment, accelerated the hover car into the open hatch of the spaceship. Just as a collision seemed imminent, a stalwart figure, a T-850, stood up and braced for impact. With arms wide open, it stopped the out-of-control car with a screech of metal on metal. "There's more!" Quinto yelled as more individual aircraft emerged from the recently blasted gap, numbering in the hundreds. Additionally, a fighter jet appeared in the distant sky. Whatever Samed had done, it seemed he had indeed stirred up a hornet's nest, drawing all nearby defenders to their location. Chapter 22. Break through the line of defense. Hold tight. Munter commanded, gripping the spacecraft's joystick firmly and pushing it forward as the hatch sealed shut. The YT-1000 spacecraft surged forward, accelerating like a wild horse breaking free, heading toward the vast expanse of outer space. Below, a barrage of blasting beams erupted from the ground, but their small calibers posed no threat to the spacecraft at this altitude. Suddenly, on several mountain peaks, hatches camouflaged as ice rocks swung open, revealing large turbo laser turrets that emerged from the ground, adjusting their angles to aim at the escaping spacecraft. Munter's spacecraft twisted and turned with agility, evading the lock of the fire control radar. Turbo lasers whizzed past the spacecraft, narrowly missing it and causing Tang Xiao to break out in a cold sweat. As the spacecraft broke free from the atmosphere and ventured into outer space, the previously indifferent Generous-class frigates sprang into action, moving to intercept. Dozens of Vulture robot fighters, previously attached to the frigates, detached and transformed, their mechanical claws morphing into sharp wings as they darted forward, mimicking the ferocity of their namesake. "Quinto, come back and help me!" the village chief bellowed. Quinto, who had been manning the turret, quickly took his place in the co-pilot's seat, concern evident in his voice. "But what about the turret?" "Spade needs to stay in the cabin to maintain the ship's equipment, and the T-850 is busy with Semed," Tang Xiao interjected without hesitation. "I'll take over the turret." He swiftly positioned himself in the turret, ready to defend their spacecraft. "The screen on your left is the fire control radar. The one on your right shows the target data. Use the foot pedals to rotate the turret and pull the trigger to fire," Spade instructed through the headset. "Understood." "I'll take down those vultures," Tang Xiao affirmed, gripping the turret's joystick. He pulled the trigger, unleashing a green laser beam that, unfortunately, veered off course, missing the agile vulture fighters as they dodged his attempts and fired at the spacecraft. Despite Munter's best efforts to evade, several crimson energy beams struck the spacecraft, their impact absorbed by the deflector shield. The vultures then regrouped and pursued from behind. "We must break through this line of defense to escape the planet's gravity well and enter hyperspace," Munter declared, maneuvering the spacecraft with skill to dodge incoming fire. Ahead, the three Generous-class frigates were turning, their turbo laser turrets firing relentlessly. The firepower of these large warships was formidable, and even a near miss could spell disaster. Munter, drenched in sweat from the tension, exclaimed, "I can focus on evading the battleships, but I can't handle those fighter jets. If we don't take them out, we're done for." "I'm doing my best," Tang Xiao retorted, firing again, but with little success against the nimble Vulture robot fighters. What in the world did Simid do to have the entire planet Makito's forces on our tail? Quinto exclaimed in frustration. "Do you think it's a small matter that Hige managed to get himself commissioned?" Tang Xiao replied, continuing to fire despite the limited effect his efforts had against the swift Vulture fighters. Another volley of explosive energy struck the spaceship's shield, prompting a roar from Spade. The situation was dire, and every second counted as they fought to break through the line of defense and escape into the safety of hyperspace. In the cabin, panic was palpable. "The shield can't hold on much longer," someone yelled. "Redirect all shield energy to the rear of the spaceship," Munter commanded urgently. Turning to Tang Xiao, he added, "Manager, you've awakened your power. You can do this. The fate of everyone on board rests in your hands." "Calm down. Calm down." Tang Xiao repeated to himself. He had awakened the force. Taking deep, steadying breaths, he closed his eyes, to center his emotions. In this moment of tranquility, he experienced an extraordinary sensation. It was as if the spaceship around him had vanished, leaving him adrift in the dark expanse of the universe. This feeling was reminiscent of a dream he had upon first arriving in this world, a dream where he was an observer from a great height, overseeing the universe and the battlefield with everything under his command. Suddenly, Tang Xiao's eyes snapped open, revealing pupils that seemed to swirl with a deep vortex. Gently pressing on a pedal, he adjusted the turret's angle by 7 degrees, then fine-tuned the firing angle with the joystick. These actions, executed in less than half a second, were as seamless as flowing water. He pulled the trigger. A green laser beam sliced through the cosmic darkness, striking a Vulture fighter jet that happened to fly into its path. The jet was instantly engulfed by the laser, resulting in a silent explosion that transformed it into a fireball dispersing in space. The Vulture fighters stood no chance against the direct hit from the laser turrets. In the vastness of space, size equated to stronger energy, more robust structures, and more powerful artillery. The energy level of the 28-meter-long YT-1000 light cargo ship far surpassed that of the 3.6-meter-long ultralight Vulture fighter, making each shot deadly. "Yahoo! Well done!" Spade's cheers erupted through the earpiece. However, Tang Xiao's expression remained unchanged, devoid of any hint of joy or sorrow. He coldly observed the unfolding events. Now the chaotic flight paths of the Vulture fighters appeared clear and predictable to him. He could foresee their movements, their attempts to flee, and their firing patterns. Although his predictions extended only a second or two into the future, it was sufficient. A Vulture fighter to the left approached swiftly. Simultaneously, another below accelerated and opened fire, while a fourth to the right prepared to launch a missile. Munter maneuvered the spacecraft, turning it 17 degrees to the right and decelerating abruptly to evade the incoming threats. Tang Xiao synthesized the flood of predictive information in his mind to devise the optimal course of action. He fired again, destroying another Vulture fighter. He then adjusted the spaceship's shields to absorb the energy beam from the Vulture below, while simultaneously repositioning the turret to intercept and destroy an incoming missile. The resulting explosion blinded the Vulture's sensors. In an astonishing display of efficiency, Tang Xiao eliminated 13 Vulture fighters in under a minute. The pressure on the Lancer significantly decreased, allowing Munter to focus on countering the attack from the Generous-class frigate. Spade, witnessing this feat from the cabin, was momentarily speechless, his cheers forgotten. But soon, he remembered his duty and shouted into the microphone, "The shield is nearing overload." "Enough is enough! Quinto, initiate the hyperspace engine," Munter ordered. "Hyperspace engine, activating," Quinto exclaimed, pressing the button. The space outside the spaceship transformed, filled with countless streaks of light as they entered hyperspace. In this higher-dimensional space, visibility was nil. The Lancer had successfully escaped into hyperspace, slipping away from the 3 Generous-class frigates. The second group's ID is 1104532117. Everyone is welcome to join. However, please note that while Fengyu is allowed, crossing the red line is strictly forbidden. Chapter 23. Escape and Consequences. In the vast emptiness of space, a sudden burst of white light heralded the arrival of a YT-1000 light cargo ship, emerging from hyperspace. This ship, known as the Lancer, carried Tang Xiao and his companions. A collective sigh of relief filled the air as they realized they had successfully escaped from Makito. Tang Xiao, exhausted to his core, stumbled out of the turret and collapsed onto the floor. Munter, quick to react, unbuckled his seatbelt and rushed from the cockpit to assist him. Thanks to you, we're alive, Munter said, offering Tang Xiao a grateful smile. Did we really escape? We actually managed to break through the defenses of planet Makito? Dubrak Quinto, the co-pilot, could hardly believe their success. His disbelief quickly turned into jubilation as he leaped up, exclaiming, "We did it! No one has ever escaped Makito after committing a crime there." Tang Xiao, too weak to join in the celebration, merely pointed towards the cargo hold, signaling them to check on Semed's condition. Acknowledging the request, Munter directed Spade to inspect the spacecraft and restore the shields, aware that unknown dangers could still lie ahead. Quinto suggested finding a place to rest and resupply. However, Munter disagreed. Semed is a liability. It's best we part ways with him sooner rather than later. Landing on a planet could invite unforeseen trouble. Soon, the T-850 robot brought Semed forward, revealing their target to be a timid moon wearing monocles, a stark contrast to the menacing figure they had anticipated. Let's not delve into his background. It's time to contact Black G, Munter decided, retrieving the temporary communicator provided by Higi. Upon establishing contact, the imposing figure of Black Godamask II appeared. "You've secured Semed. Excellent," he remarked. Semed, visibly terrified at the sight of Hego, stammered, "Lord Hego, I have the Tony's family's transaction records." "You will be handsomely rewarded," Black J responded, his gaze fixed on Munter, his words laced with ambiguity. Semed, hopeful, began, "Then, as per our agreement, may I—" "Kill him," Black G commanded coldly, his attention still on Munter. "Lord Black J, please, I've fulfilled my part of the agreement," Semed pleaded, falling to his knees. Munter hesitated, conflicted. Taking the life of an unarmed, innocent person went against his principles. "We must follow the rules," Quinto murmured. Black Godamask II remained silent, his cold gaze unyielding. Munter raised his pistol, but his resolve wavered. Then, unexpectedly, a gunshot echoed through the ship. Semed collapsed, a victim of Tang Xiao's decisive action, the smoke still rising from his revolver. With a bitter smile, Munter faced Hige. "It's done. He's dead." Higi's laughter, though muffled by his metal mask, was unmistakably sinister. "Excellent. Proceed to Planet Loan to receive your payment," he instructed. Munter coldly gestured to Semed's body. "He was supposed to be compensated as per your agreement, wasn't he? Did he receive his payment?" "It's simple," Black G replied, his tone devoid of empathy. He knew too much. Higidamask II sneered for a while before cutting off the communication. Kunte approached Tang Xiao, sighing softly. "Manager, you made the right decision. I apologize for my earlier hesitation. I nearly compromised our mission." His expression conveyed a hint of disappointment. "He's still alive. We need to act quickly," Tang Xiao said weakly, barely able to open his eyes. The continuous use of the Force had nearly depleted his energy. Munter's eyes brightened as he hurried back to check on Semed, finding him barely breathing. He immediately fetched the medical kit to administer emergency treatment. "I used a live ammunition weapon, but aimed for a non-lethal area with the help of the Force. At this range, the bullet should pass through without causing immediate death, allowing us time for a rescue," Tang Xiao explained. "The bleeding has stopped. He's stable for now, but he needs immediate medical attention," Munter announced after tending to Semed's wound. "We don't have the luxury of time to transport him to a planet for treatment. We need another solution," Tang Xiao murmured. "We could use the carbon condensation chamber. This spacecraft is equipped with carbon condensation technology," Quinto suggested excitedly. Following his suggestion, T-850 lifted Semed and followed Quinto to a small storage room. Quinto activated the device, and soon, a barrage of sprays encased Semed in a half-metal, half-stone-like substance. They then concealed the carbonite-encased Semed among the cargo, ensuring he remained hidden and secure. Carbon condensation technology, akin to cryogenic hibernation but more comprehensive, was initially developed for ultra-long-distance space travel. However, with the advent of hyperspace engines, its use diminished, and it became a method for detaining fugitives. Kunte approached Tang Xiao, remorse evident in his voice. "I'm sorry for doubting you earlier, Manager. I didn't realize you had such a plan." "Don't overthink it. I'm merely keeping our options open. Now I need to rest," Tang Xiao reassured him, patting Kunte's shoulder before lying down on a nearby cot and falling asleep almost instantly. We should depart for planet Loan as soon as possible. We'll take the Hydia route and then switch to the Corellia route. It's worth noting that upon reaching planet Loan, we'll be low on fuel. Higi must have anticipated this when he sent us on this long journey, Quinto explained to Munter. Indeed, we have no choice but to proceed, Munter agreed, returning to the pilot's seat, buckling his seatbelt, and preparing for departure. Note 1. The carbon condensation technique, as seen in the first episode of The Mandalorian, Season 1, was used by the protagonist to detain the uncooperative Mithril. Vol 2, Chapter 24, Pirates. In the vast expanse of the Endor galaxy, 3 small ships emerged from hyperspace, entering the star system with a sense of purpose. Among them were 2 G9 light cargo ships and a GX-1 transport ship. Despite being labeled as cargo ships, they had undergone significant modifications. Their cargo compartments had been transformed into laser turrets, significantly enhancing their armament capabilities. Let's take a detour around the Endor galaxy. Keep an eye out for anything out of the ordinary, a pilot communicated lazily over the channel. I still don't understand what Master Dooku expects us to find in the model sector. It's like looking for a needle in a haystack. Another voice responded with a hint of frustration. Tell me about it. I've scoured the model sector top to bottom. We'd be better off heading to the outer rim to make some quick credits. A third chimed in. Quit your complaining. The payment from Master Dooku will be more than enough for us to live it up on Seleno once we're back. Let's get to work, the first pilot retorted. Boss, we've picked up a strong radar signal coming from the direction of planet Endor. An excited voice announced. People in the Endor galaxy, a place forsaken even by birds? Ha! This could be our lucky break. Let's check it out, the leader declared, sensing an opportunity. Meanwhile, Qui-Gon Jinn delicately sipped his tea, allowing the rich aroma of black tea to envelop his senses, bringing a sense of relaxation and contentment. He took a moment to savor the fragrance, finding it unusually comforting. Are you enjoying the black tea, Master Qui-Gon? Daphne Clement asked with a warm smile, sitting across from him. It's quite unique, not just delicious, but genuinely comforting, Qui-Gon acknowledged with a nod. And how do you find our inspection of the Fourth Group's colonies so far? Clement inquired further. Everything appears to be in order, except for the large mining operation on the 4th satellite. Are you planning to develop industry here? Qui-Gon queried, his curiosity piqued. Indeed, our group is venturing into shipbuilding among other endeavors, Clement confirmed. Shipbuilding is typically the domain of large corporations, Qui-Gon mused, standing to observe the nascent interstellar dock through the mothership's spacious porthole. He turned back to Clement. Yet, I've never heard of the Fourth Group before. Our organization is relatively new, so many of our projects are just getting off the ground, Clement explained. I recall there being native species on planet Endor, now renamed Dawn. You're required to report such changes to the Republic's relevant departments. Obi-Wan Kenobi, who had been silent, suddenly interjected. Yes, the Ewoks. We've established a harmonious relationship with them, even teaching some to assist in construction. Our goal is to gradually integrate them into civilized society, Clement elaborated. There are also other species, like the Duroks, though they're more aggressive. We're still in the early stages of contact. I hope your efforts are genuine. The Republic strictly prohibits genocide resulting from colonial expansion, Obi-Wan remarked sternly. Of course, we have dedicated personnel in Coruscant managing these matters, Clement replied, though inwardly he was anxious. The very mention of Coruscant was something he had only learned recently. And what of your leader, Tang Xiao? Has there been any contact? Qui-Gon inquired, concern evident in his voice. Clement's expression clouded with worry. Not yet. He's supposed to be navigating the hyperspace routes. Last I heard, he was heading to Tatooine to explore potential markets for our products. What kind of person is Tang Xiao? Qui-Gon pressed. Clement smiled, a sense of pride in his voice. He's visionary, approachable, and fearless. Though still maturing, he's on to becoming an exceptional leader. I believe she's sincere, Master, Obi-Wan whispered, sensing Clement's emotions through the Force. She truly believes in Tang Xiao's leadership. At a remarkably young age, Tang Xiao had managed to command a magnificent mothership and initiate a planetary colonization plan, earning him considerable praise. Kui Gangjin chuckled. I thank our managers for your affirmation. Clement, standing with a solemn demeanor, bowed respectfully to both of them. Suddenly, the calm was broken by an incoming communication. Come here, commanded the voice of the master. Qi Jian, the chief of staff busy in the staff department, responded immediately. Then, an arrogant face appeared on the bridge's large screen. Where did you get this massive ship? You've come to mine on the planet of Endor without authorization. Do you have a permit? We are tax officers of the Galactic Republic, here to assess your tax situation. If you're wise, you'll pay the tax of 1 million credit points promptly. Otherwise, don't blame us for our actions. Chijan's expression darkened. Tax officer? Ha! You're clearly here for extortion. The man on the screen maintained his arrogance. We are merely following the rules and regulations. You must pay the tax of 1 million credit points immediately. At this, Obi-Wan Kenobi stood up, ready to confront the screen, but Qui-Gon Jinn held him back. Turning to Clement, Qui-Gon assured, the tax collectors of the Galactic Republic do not behave in this manner. I understand. Please give me a moment, Clement replied, her tone serious. She then proceeded to the Combat Command Center. Master, they're obviously pirates. We can't just stand by and do nothing. Obi-Wan whispered to Qui-Gon after Clement had left. I know, but this situation presents an opportunity to understand their true capabilities, Qui-Gon replied softly. I get that, but from the Republic's perspective, not the Jedi Knights, Obi-Wan conceded. Yes, Master. At the command center, Qi Jian issued an order. Notify the entire ship to enter combat readiness. All personnel, return to your stations, and fighter pilots, man your aircraft and await further instructions. Cease operations in the interstellar mining field immediately. The alarm blared throughout the mothership, rousing the staff from their quarters as they hurried to their posts. Sir, 3 spaceships are approaching the interstellar mining station on the gaseous planet. They are 20 to 30 meters in length and classified as light frigates, reported a radar operator. Send them an ultimatum to halt their advance immediately. Otherwise, we will be forced to take action. Qi Jian declared firmly. Clement, visibly concerned, remarked, We currently only have blade fighters at our disposal, and I'm worried about their combat effectiveness. Qi Jian's eyes blazed with determination. Even if all I have left is a single dagger, I will fight to the very end. Vol 2, Chapter 25, Humiliation. Boss, it looks like they're gearing up to fight us, exclaimed a crew member aboard one of the 3 bounty hunter spaceships, eyeing the massive mothership ahead with a mix of awe and fear. A spaceship that size could crush us with a mere flick. You spineless maggot, look closer. That behemoth doesn't have a single turret on it, understand? It's just a civilian spaceship. What threat could it possibly pose? The leader rebuked sharply. But it could be housing fighter jets, the crew member protested. Then we steer clear of their ship. See that mining station orbiting the gas giant of Endor? Let's test their mettle there. If they're as formidable as you fear, we'll use the mining station's shield as our escape route. The leader strategized. Ha! Exactly. If they're just a bunch of inept security guards, we'll hit the jackpot on this run. Another crew member chimed in, laughing boisterously. But Master Dooku only instructed us to conduct reconnaissance. The first crew member hesitated. Quit your incessant whining. You're as dim-witted as a bantha. Master Dooku tasked us with reconnaissance, and that includes assessing their wealth. Ha! The leader retorted, bursting into laughter. Right, let's go, feast on their riches. With that, the 3 spaceships accelerated, darting towards the interstellar mining station like predators on the prowl. In the midst of their raucous laughter, 2 G9 light cargo ships and 1 GX-1 transport ship made a beeline for the mining station established by the 4th civilization on the outskirts of Endor's gas giant. A returning mining ship, caught off guard, was immediately struck by a barrage of lasers. With virtually no defenses, the mining ship erupted into a fiery explosion. Simultaneously, the mothership's massive hangar platform unfolded, and 4 squadrons of blade fighters launched in quick succession. The mothership's hangars, designed to accommodate even cruisers, allowed the fighter jets to deploy without delay. A total of 48 fighter jets, divided into 4 squadrons, surged towards the besieged mining station. Boss, they're coming for us, a crew member alerted. They're just light fighters. Take a few down, then we make our escape, the leader declared, determined to inflict damage even in retreat. In the galaxy's far reaches, the line between bounty hunters and interstellar pirates often blurred, their roles dictated by the task at hand. This was especially true in the Milky Way's outer rim, where the Republic's influence waned and lawlessness prevailed. The modified G9 cargo ships, equipped with additional turrets behind the cargo hold, opened fire as the Fourth Civilization's blade fighters approached. Energy beams, resembling red meteors, streaked across space. The blade fighters quickly formed up, each squadron dispersing into groups of 4, engaging from a distance. Their 6-barrel electromagnetic guns blazed, unleashing a torrent of bullets that, due to the range, mostly missed their targets. The few that did connect were effortlessly repelled by the bounty hunters' deflector shields. The firepower from the modified G9s proved overwhelming, with continuous energy beams soon finding their mark on a blade fighter. Lacking energy shields, the fighter stood no chance, its hull ruptured by a direct hit, erupting into flames. Meanwhile, the larger GX-1 transport ship, having been retrofitted with additional laser turrets, swung into action. Its enhanced armaments made short work of any blade fighter that ventured too close, decimating them with ruthless efficiency. As the distance between the two forces closed, they engaged in fierce close-quarters combat. However, the outcome was a bitter disappointment for the bounty hunters. The ships were larger, swifter, more formidable, and protected by nearly indestructible shields. The blade fighters, armed only with basic electromagnetic cannons, were incapable of inflicting significant damage. Among the 4 squadrons, only one was equipped with infrared laser weapon, NS, which, when fired, caused visible ripples on the bounty hunter's spaceship shields. However, these laser weapons, which required sustained exposure to be effective, paled in comparison to the more desirable explosive weapons that delivered their payload in a single devastating blow. The issue of the blade fighters' insufficient power remained unresolved. Despite the overwhelming odds of 48-3, the blade fighters were being systematically destroyed. Yet, the remaining jets persisted in their assault, undeterred like moths drawn to a flame. Ha! Boss, their fighters are so pathetic! Ha! Some previously apprehensive bounty hunters burst into laughter upon witnessing the feeble resistance of their adversaries. Humph! They're merely paper tigers, the leader declared with a fierce glint in his eye. Spotting the disparity in strength, the 3 bounty hunters' spaceships intensified their onslaught. Disregarding any semblance of formation, they used their deflector shields to wreak havoc within the ranks of the Fourth Civilization's aircraft. In the command center of the Mothership, Chi-Jan watched as the icons representing the fighter jets turned red and vanished from the screen. His fists clenched, his body trembling with a profound sense of humiliation. Each icon's disappearance signified the loss of a life, and he felt utterly powerless to stop it. "Sir, our fighter jets stand no chance. It's like they're swatting flies." The adjutant beside him reported, tears streaming down his face. Chi-Jan slammed his fist onto the table with such force that the holographic projection flickered. "Notify the engineering department to expedite their efforts. Every fighter jet refitted with infrared laser weapons counts. They must join the battle as soon as they leave the production line," he commanded. Turning to Clement, he added, "We also need to awaken more pilots. Please, request approval from the chief executive. The loss of life is too great." Clement nodded in somber agreement. Guanyan and Feng Yongwang from the Scientific Research Department had arrived on the bridge, hoping to compare the performance of the 2 types of fighters and gather some real combat data. However, the reality before them was staggering. "Do you understand now?" Feng Yongwang said quietly, a hint of despair in his voice. Without waiting for a response, he left the bridge, his steps unsteady. In his distraction, he knocked over a potted plant, but no one commented on the mishap. The rest of the scientific research team, witnessing this, silently returned to their posts, determined to work tirelessly. They were resolved to analyze and understand more technology as swiftly as possible. Whether it involved ghost fighters or corvettes, the need for more powerful and advanced ships was clear. They vowed to prevent the day's humiliations from recurring, to ensure their fighters would never again be forced into a desperate battle with technology from a bygone era. Vol 2, Chapter 26, Assistance. Master, their defense forces are being decimated. Master, Obi-Wan Kenobi exclaimed, witnessing the harrowing battle unfold before him. He couldn't remain passive, especially upon seeing the pilots courageously manning their outdated fighter jets, launching into what seemed like suicidal attacks. His heart was deeply moved by their bravery. Sit down, Obi-Wan. Remember, don't let your emotions dictate your actions, Qui-Gon Jinn advised, his demeanor calm and meditative, eyes closed as if in deep contemplation. But, Master, Obi-Wan protested, his concern palpable. Sit. At this juncture, our intervention must be considered carefully. You need to connect with the emotions of those in uniform to truly understand, Qui-Gon instructed. Obi-Wan, heeding his master's words, reached out with the Force and felt as though he had touched a blazing inferno. He finally grasped his master's wisdom. For those brave souls, this battle was a crucible of transformation. It was a journey of self-discovery, of confronting their limitations and emerging stronger. Just then, the middle-aged female chief executive approached them. Obi-Wan stood and bowed respectfully, though words failed him. Master Qui-Gon, I was informed that you are Jedi Knights, protectors of the Galactic Republic. We are merely refugees seeking to establish a new home. Our resources are limited, but I implore you, please. Help us, Daphne Clement pleaded, her voice laden with desperation. Quan Jin rose, his expression solemn. Protecting the innocent is our duty. However, the galaxy is vast and fraught with peril, and we cannot be everywhere. I hope you understand this, he said, his tone gentle yet firm. This is our new home. We will defend it with our lives if necessary. Clement responded, her head still bowed, her resolve unmistakable. Qui-Gon sensed the fierce determination in her heart through the Force. Anger is a double-edged sword. It can harm your foes as well as consume you. Be mindful of this, he cautioned. I believe we will present a stronger front when you next visit. Our leader, Tang Xiao, eagerly anticipates meeting you, Clement said, bowing deeply. Qui-Gon nodded in acknowledgement. Your black tea was exquisite. I look forward to enjoying it again. Farewell, and may the Force be with you. With that, Qui-Gon donned his cloak's hood, and he, along with Obi-Wan, made their way to the hangar. The hangar was nearly empty, save for a few pilots preparing for departure. Qui-Gon attempted to address the pilots but realized the language barrier persisted. Galactic Standard Language was known to only a select few within this fourth civilization. Thus, they boarded their spaceship where their pilot awaited. Qui-Gon gestured to Obi-Wan, "Take the helm." "Of course, Master." Obi-Wan complied, though he admitted, "Master, our ship is merely a civilian model, equipped with a single turret. I'm somewhat apprehensive." Qui-Gon chuckled. "Feeling fear now? What happened to your earlier resolve?" Obi-Wan replied earnestly, "As Jedi Knights, aiding the innocent is our responsibility." Qui-Gon smiled, his gaze thoughtful. "You perceive their vulnerability as innocence, yet beneath their fragile exterior lies a resilient spirit. Remember, the Force reveals much more than what meets the eye. Trust in it." "I understand, Master. So we are to assist them?" Obi-Wan sought confirmation. "Exactly. These people require our aid. Let's not delay any further," Qui-Gon affirmed, settling into the co-pilot's seat and expertly activating the spacecraft's controls. The Z-10 Explorer-class lightcraft lifted off from the hangar platform, ascending into the sky, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Obi-Wan Kenobi piloted the Z-10 spaceship directly towards the tumultuous battlefield near the Endor gaseous planetary mining station. The scene was grim. Over 30 blade fighters had been destroyed, their wreckage and the bodies of their pilots eerily floating in the void of space. Yet the fierce combat showed no signs of abating. In a desperate bid to halt the advance of 3 menacing bounty hunter spaceships, the Fourth Civilization deployed an Arrow-type reconnaissance plane, launching relentless attacks in a display of unwavering courage. As Obi-Wan's Z-10 cut through the chaos of battle, he opened communications with Qi Jian. "Let your fighter jets coordinate with us as closely as possible," he instructed. "Understood," came Qi Jian's prompt reply. Almost immediately, the formation of blade fighters adjusted, aligning themselves around Obi-Wan's Z-10 as their new focal point. With determination, Obi-Wan pushed the joystick forward, propelling the spaceship into a swift advance. However, The bounty hunter spaceships proved to be formidable adversaries, unleashing a barrage of artillery fire that rattled the shields of the Z-10. "No, their firepower is overwhelming," Obi-Wan exclaimed, a bead of sweat trailing down his forehead. "Remember what I told you. Use the Force," Qui-Gon Jinn advised calmly. "Their vulnerabilities are clear." Taking a moment to steady his breathing, Obi-Wan responded, "I understand, Master. Despite their modifications and added turrets, the electronic and fire control systems of their ships are outdated and incapable of sustaining such intense firepower." "And your plan?" Qui-Gon prodded, guiding his apprentice. "Watch me," Obi-Wan declared, his gaze intensifying. He maneuvered the spacecraft into a high-speed arc, its wings fluttering to confuse the enemy's targeting systems. With a decisive press of a button, a pulsed laser cannon unleashed a brilliant beam of light. In the realm of space combat, the prowess of Jedi Knights, guided by the Force, rendered even the most skilled pilots powerless. Their precognitive abilities allowed them to anticipate and evade danger with unparalleled grace. Moments later, the Z-10 emerged victorious from the fiery explosion that consumed the last of the bounty hunter ships. The jubilant voices of the Fourth Civilization's pilots filled the communicator, celebrating their triumph. "Master, we did it! We've eliminated all the pirates!" Obi-Wan exclaimed, his voice brimming with excitement. "Shall we return to the giant spaceship?" Qui-Gon Jinn offered a smile. His response conveyed through action rather than words as he activated the hyperdrive switch on the co-pilot's console. Understanding his master's intent, Obi-Wan mirrored the smile and engaged the hyperspace jump. The spaceship stretched momentarily before vanishing into the cosmos, leaving the battlefield far behind. Vol 2, Chapter 27, Calculations. At this moment, in the vast expanse of outer space near planet Loan, the Lancer YT-1000 spaceship emerged from hyperspace. Inside the vessel, Tang Xiao opened his eyes, sat up, and inquired, "Have we arrived?" "Yes, we're at planet Loan. However, we haven't identified the recipient for this item," Munter replied, weighing the storage device in his hand. "Wait a moment. I suspect it's not going to be that straightforward," Tang Xiao remarked. "I'm inclined to agree. How are you feeling, boss? If anything were to happen, we'd need to rely on your strength," Kunte said to Tang Xiao, a smile playing on his lips. Tang Xiao glanced at the stainless steel water cup beside him. Raising his hand, he focused his energy, and the cup trembled slightly before being lifted by an unseen force, landing at his feet with a thud. "It seems I'm capable of quite a bit," Tang Xiao observed, clenching his fist. Suddenly, the spaceship's public communication channel crackled to life, displaying a holographic projection of the Farron woman who had entrusted them with a task on planet Tatooine. With a sneer, she said, "You've done well to retrieve the item. Now, hand over the storage device, take your payment, and we'll be done here." "I believe it would be wiser to deliver this directly to Lord Hygie," Munter suggested, smiling. Fallen's expression darkened. "Don't test my patience. Hand it over now, or I'll take it myself." "Radar signal detected. It's coming from the asteroid belt," Quinto suddenly exclaimed. After manipulating the console, the screen displayed two spacecraft, a 38-meter-long vessel resembling a tortoise and a larger, 52.3-meter-long medium-sized ship with a trapezoidal body. Quinto paled. "Those are a Gitrock 720-class light cargo ship and a YV-865 Oro-class cargo ship. They could easily handle this themselves. Why involve us?" "It seems these ships are significantly larger than ours, posing a considerable challenge," Munter remarked, whistling nonchalantly. "They're likely looking to swoop in and take what's ours, possibly eliminating us in the process," Tang Xiao surmised coldly. "I'll wager 20 Yupi from Quinto's stash that the moment we hand over the storage device, we'll be met with blaster fire," Munter added. "And I'll bet 100 Upi from Quinto's funds that boarding their ship will result in our immediate demise," Tang Xiao chuckled. "Do we have any time to spare?" Munter inquired, not missing a beat. "I believe so," Tang Xiao replied, his gaze settling on the T-850. "Have you no sense of self-preservation?" Quinto despaired. "We're out of ammunition and provisions. Without docking at Loan Planet for supplies, hyperspace travel is off the table." He gestured to the screen, where the two heavily modified cargo ships loomed ominously. "These vessels far outclass ours. After their modifications, we stand no chance. I'm just a smuggler. This ship is hardly equipped for combat, Quinto lamented. Perhaps if you weren't so averse to taking on high-risk, high-reward jobs, you'd have the funds for such modifications. Besides, this ship wasn't even earned. It was either a gift or an inheritance, Munter pointed out sharply. It's irrelevant, Quinto exclaimed, pointing at the screen. They're approaching. So you still wish to resist? Fine, I'll handle this personally. Don't worry, I'll be sure to leave your corpses intact, the malicious voice of the Farron woman taunted over the communication channel. Kunte and Tang Xiao exchanged glances, a silent agreement passing between them. They were not going to go down without a fight. With feigned terror in his voice, Munte loudly exclaimed, "No, please, don't do this. We surrender. We'll hand over everything immediately." The fallen woman laughed heartily. "That's a good boy. Lower your shield, deactivate your weapon system, and dock with my spaceship, and no funny business. My spaceship has a crew of 20. Okay, I'm doing it," Munte replied, his voice trembling as he deactivated the weapon system and lowered the space Kex Raft's shield, leaving them completely defenseless. He then maneuvered their spacecraft towards the YV-865, an Oro-class cargo ship. "Excellent. I'll be waiting for your cargo," the fallen woman sneered before ending the communication. "What do we do now? Are we really going to hand over our cargo? She'll surely kill us once she has it," Quinto exclaimed in panic. However, before he could continue, he noticed Tang Xiao drop something. Instinctively catching it, Quinto was surprised by its weight. Looking down, he realized he was holding a black assault rifle. "Is this a gun? And it's loaded? Does anyone still use these?" Quinto was taken aback. "A good gun can still take a life, whether it fires explosive rounds or live ammunition," Tang Xiao remarked. Quinto examined the gun, a bead of sweat forming on his forehead. "Wait, are you suggesting we fight them? What other choice do we have? We've traveled from Makito, nearly crossing the galaxy. We're low on fuel and ammunition. Do you think we can afford a shootout with these two modified cargo ships?" Tang Xiao said, assisting Quinto with disengaging the safety on the gun. As the YT-1000 light cargo ship slowly approached the Oro-class cargo ship, the docking compartment opened. On board the cargo ship, the fallen woman directed her squad of over 20 heavily armed mercenaries to take positions around the door. "Fire the moment the door opens. I want that memory chip, not those fools. Fez, keep an eye on that 720-class ship. If they try anything, obliterate their spacecraft." "No problem, boss," came the reply. A jolt signaled the beginning of the docking process between the two spaceships. The fallen woman stepped back, took out her sniper rifle, and positioned herself behind her mercenaries, her eyes fixed on the door. As the hatch slowly opened, a thick cloud of disinfectant mist sprayed out, obscuring the view. A frantic voice called from behind the mist. "Wait! Don't shoot! If you do, I'll destroy the memory chip on the spot." "Kill him, grab the memory chip, and let's get out of here," the fallen woman commanded softly. The hatch was now fully open, but before the mist could clear, the mercenaries' fingers were already poised on their triggers. Suddenly, a massive black shadow hurtled towards them. It was the wreckage of a hover car. How could such a thing be aboard the spacecraft? Vol 2, Chapter 28, Counterattack. The sight that greeted everyone was beyond their wildest dreams. A car, of all things, had been hurled at them as if it were a mere toy. The notion of finding a car aboard a spaceship baffled them all. The 4-meter-long wreckage of the vehicle was tossed out, catching the mercenaries off guard. They opened fire, but their blaster beams seemed to do nothing against the car's mass. With a thunderous crash, the wreckage barreled into several mercenaries, sending sparks flying as it skidded across the ground. Reacting swiftly, some mercenaries unleashed a barrage of fire towards the hatch, their guns roaring in the foggy air as several red energy beams sliced through the mist. But then, an unexpected turn of events occurred. An invisible force seemed to snatch the blaster pistols right from their hands. Before they could even think to retrieve their weapons, a rapid succession of gunfire echoed. The mercenaries at the front line fell one by one. Emerging from the fog was a towering figure wielding an assault rifle with deadly precision. He took down half a dozen mercenaries in a matter of seconds. The energy beams that did hit him merely peeled away an artificial layer of skin, revealing a silver-white mechanical structure beneath. It's a robot. The mercenaries gasped in disbelief upon seeing the metallic skeleton beneath the torn synthetic flesh. Unfazed, the T-850 robot discarded the empty assault rifle and seamlessly drew 2 more from his back, continuing his relentless assault. Tang Xiao, Kunte, Quinto, and Spade followed closely, each armed with an assault rifle, laying down a hail of bullets without a second thought. The mercenaries, armed only with single-shot blaster pistols, found themselves outmatched against the continuous fire. Amidst the chaos, Tang Xiao focused on a Rhodian mercenary taking cover behind a crate. With a swift gesture, he used his telekinetic abilities to wrench the gun from the mercenary's grip. The Rhodian, attempting to retrieve his weapon, exposed himself and was promptly shot dead, his blue blood staining the ground. Leading the charge, the T-850 robot absorbed the energy beams with indifference, his red electronic eyes scanning for targets. Despite losing an eye to a direct hit, he maintained his deadly accuracy, dispatching a Bosa mercenary with a precise shot. As his ammunition ran out, he switched to pistols, continuing his barrage until an explosive blast severed his arm. Undeterred, he used his remaining strength to hurl the assailant against the bulkhead. In a desperate attempt, a mercenary tried to ambush the T-850 from behind, but before he could fire, his blaster was telekinetically snatched away, and his head was obliterated in an instant. Sensing defeat, a fallen woman scrambled to the cockpit, urging, "Close the docking cabin, quick!" But before her command could be executed, a bullet grazed her cheek and fatally struck the pilot. Tang Xiao, revolver still smoking, coldly advised, "If I were you, I'd kneel and put my hands on my head." Terrified, the fallen woman complied immediately, pleading for her life and insisting on her innocence. Tang Xiao, however, cut her off, uninterested in her excuses. Tang Xiao hesitated to pull the trigger, his hand trembling slightly as he locked eyes with the fallen woman. Throughout his life, he had never even killed a chicken, and now he was faced with a far graver deed. Yet in that moment, a surge of violent emotion welled up within him, a flash of ruthlessness crossing his gaze. With a resounding bang, the shot echoed, and the woman collapsed into a pool of blood. Tang Xiao exhaled deeply, discarding the pistol as he leaned against the bulkhead, drained of strength. Meanwhile, the crew aboard the Gothrock 720 cargo ship sensed something amiss. They quickly turned the bow and accelerated in an attempt to escape. "We must eliminate all threats. Village Special, take control of the cockpit and stop that ship," Tang Xiao commanded, suddenly snapping to action. "I'm on it," Munter responded, having already disposed of the pilot. The console, smeared with the pilot's remains, was indecipherable, its buttons and levers a mystery. But then the situation took an unexpected turn. A brilliant flash of light pierced the cosmic void, heralding the arrival of a massive battleship from hyperspace. It was a Generous-class frigate, emblazoned with the emblem of the Interstellar Banking Association. "Damn it! Makito's forces have found us," Tang Xiao cursed, a chill running down his spine at the sight of the 825-meter-long behemoth. "Village Special, is there any chance we can escape?" "I doubt it," came the grim reply. The frigate's turbo laser turrets swiveled into position, targeting the fleeing Gothrock 720. In the silence of space, the devastating barrage of artillery fire obliterated the cargo ship, a silent testament to the attack's ferocity. The ship's deflector shields were utterly ineffective against such firepower. After the assault, the Generous-class frigate ceased fire, its hangar doors opening in a silent invitation. Tang Xiao's heart raced as he observed the frigate, sensing an ominous presence within its depths. Shaking off the feeling, he made a decision. "It seems we're safe for now. Quinto, Spad, take control of this cargo ship. Munter, T-850, let's head back to the Lancer. We're boarding that battleship. It's time for the delivery." The Lancer and the Oro-class cargo ship maneuvered into the frigate's somewhat cramped hangar. Upon landing, they were immediately surrounded by hundreds of B-1 combat robots. These simple yet effective robots were favored by massive intergalactic corporations like the Interstellar Banking Association and the Trade Union for both combat and labor due to their affordability and reliability. Leading the way with the memory chip in hand, Kunte advanced, with Tang Xiao blending in among the others, striving to remain inconspicuous. Vol 2, Chapter 29, First Contact. "Stop! Hands up! commanded a B-1 battle droid. Soon, more B-1 battle droids swarmed their ships, with hundreds of E-5 blasters aimed directly at their heads. Tang Xiao and his companions immediately raised their hands, showing no intention of resistance. However, to their surprise, some B-1 droids approached with fuel trucks and engineering vehicles, beginning to refuel their two spaceships, repair the hulls, and even remove the bodies of the mercenaries from the Oro-class cargo ships. They meticulously cleaned the console that was previously splattered with brains. Then, a figure, shrouded in a black cloak, escorted by two guard robots, made his way towards them. He wore a mechanical mask over his mouth, with two tubes connected to his respiratory tract pulsating rhythmically. In his hand, he held a cane. To Tang Xiao, the man's attire bore a striking resemblance to that of mages in Dungeons and Dragons. However, he was in no position to critique fashion choices, instead lowering his head in an attempt to avoid drawing attention. The cloaked figure was none other than their employer, Hago Damask Tick. "Mr. Hai, here is what you requested," said a villager, bowing deeply and presenting a memory chip. "Very good. Your performance has exceeded my expectations." "I had initially thought the victor would be Fallen, Rosus Leon," Hego remarked, gesturing for a guard robot to take the memory chip. He didn't inspect it immediately, instead pocketing it before signaling for another B-1 droid to bring over a bag of money. "This is your reward, 100,000 Republic credit points," Hego announced, revealing a sum far beyond their initial agreement. In the black market, the exchange rate of Republic credits to Upupi coins was about 10.6, making this reward substantial enough to purchase a decent spaceship outright. We had only agreed upon 20,000 Upi, the villager responded, wary of the implications of accepting such a large sum. After all, accepting more money often meant undertaking more obligations. "That was the price you negotiated with Rosas, not the price I am offering," Hago clarified, his tone light yet firm. "Take it. You've earned it. Your ability to break through the siege of Makito and outperform Rosas has proven your worth, and this is your reward. I assure you, I do not skimp on compensation for those who serve me well." "So that means Fallen, the woman named Rosas, was merely a pawn in your game," Munter interjected, observing as two B-1 battle droids prepared to jettison Rosas's body into space. "I always prepare for every contingency and prefer to work with those who are intelligent. I hope you prove to be such individuals, so I advise you not to refuse my offer," Hago stated, his voice exuding an undeniable authority. Reluctantly, Munter nodded and accepted the heavy purse. "Very well, we are now allies. Enjoy your rewards, and when the time comes, I will seek you out again." As Hago turned to leave, a sudden intuition made him pause and sharply turn back, his gaze locking onto Tang Xiao, who had been trying to remain inconspicuous. Tang Xiao felt as if he were being sucked into an endless abyss, with no place to hide or escape. However, this sensation was fleeting, and soon Hago's gaze softened, revealing a hint of amusement. He scrutinized Tang Xiao, then burst into laughter. "Ha! Fascinating! Truly fascinating! Ha!" His laughter lingered in the hangar as he departed. "You may leave now. In fact, you must leave immediately," a B-1 battle droid instructed in a monotone voice. Munter exchanged a glance with Tang Xiao, who was visibly shaken, and said, "Let's go." Quinto and Spad headed towards the YV-865 Oro-class cargo ship, while Munter and Tang Xiao made their way back to the YT-1000 light cargo ship, each processing the events that had just unfolded. Tang Xiao maneuvered the spacecraft out of the hangar of the Generous-class frigate. After a brief moment, the engines of the frigate roared to life, and it vanished into hyperspace, leaving only a shimmering trail behind. Tang Xiao, who had been tense throughout the ordeal, finally relaxed, letting out a deep sigh of relief as he slumped into his seat. It was clear to him that Black Godamask II, a notorious figure known for his vast and dark influence across the galaxy, had set his sights on him. This realization was unsettling from every perspective. Meanwhile, Munter made his way to the cargo hold to inspect their hidden passenger. Jamid, still encased in a carbonite block, remained undetected beneath the layers of cargo, even after the B-1 combat robots had scoured the spaceship. It was then that Quinto reached out with a message. "Boss, what's our next destination?" "You're free now. Head back to the Endor Galaxy, pick up your companions, and then you're free to go wherever you wish, Tang Xiao replied, his tone unexpectedly generous. Wait, boss, do you mean? Quinto was taken aback, struggling to grasp the full meaning of Tang Xiao's words. Exactly as I said, you're free, Tang Xiao clarified. You were only detained because you trespassed on the Dawn planet. Now I'm releasing you. After a moment of silence, Quinto responded, his voice tinged with emotion. You know, you were right about me. I've only ever managed to scrape by with simple jobs, delivering goods for meager earnings. It's been a struggle. The ship wasn't even mine to begin with. It belonged to my former boss who was killed by pirates during a smuggling run, leaving me the ship as an inheritance. He paused, collecting his thoughts before continuing. But you and Mr. Munter, you're different. I've never met a pilot as skilled as Munter, or someone with abilities as extraordinary as yours. The 100,000 credit points we earned on this trip would have taken me 3 years to make on my own. So, I'd like to join you, if you'll have me. Munter chimed in, his voice stern. If you stick to running those safer smuggling routes, you might live to see 60. But if you join us, you could be dead tomorrow. Quinto's response was filled with a newfound determination. But I'll also have the chance to earn more money than I could ever spend in a lifetime. You can make that happen, right, boss? A smile tugged at the corner of Tang Xiao's mouth. Yes, you'll earn more than you ever imagined possible. Energized by the prospect, Quinto pressed on. Then let's not waste any more time. What's our next target, boss? Back to the Dawn planet, Tang Xiao declared. Understood, Quinto replied, his voice clear and resolute. Vol 2, Chapter 30, Conspiracy. In the outer reaches of the Milky Way, within the model sector of the Endor galaxy, Mars Ferrasi gazed out at the stunning vista of Dawn planet through the expansive porthole of the Mothership. She found herself at a loss for thoughts. She, along with her 3 companions who had arrived at Dawn planet ahead of time to prepare the merchandise, were now quartered in the Mothership's dormitory. The accommodations were luxurious, a far cry from their previous life in the slums of Corellia. Here, they wanted for nothing. However, their freedom was significantly curtailed, especially after an incident involving 3 bounty hunters that resulted in substantial losses for their captors. As a result, Qijian had tightened security. Now, 2 stoic Marines stood guard at their dormitory door at all times. Ferrasi couldn't help but think that despite their numbers, they stood no chance against the Marines' superior strength. During a quiet moment, one of her companions, Kenneth, approached her and whispered, Miss, are you aware of the details regarding the bounty hunters' attack? Ferrasi frowned slightly and replied, I'm aware of the attack and the aftermath, but I was confined to the dormitory at the time. What about it? Kenneth leaned in closer, his voice barely above a whisper. I was on the other side of the spaceship, teaching Galactic Standard, and I witnessed the entire skirmish. Those 3 bounty hunters managed to inflict heavy losses, not because of their numbers, but because of a critical vulnerability in the Mothership's defenses. Ferrasi's interest was piqued. What do you mean? Kenneth's eyes sparkled with excitement. Despite the Mothership's imposing size, its defenses were surprisingly weak. The bounty hunters, piloting 2 GA-9s and a GX-1, both outdated models, easily outmaneuvered and destroyed over 30 of the Mothership's fighter jets. It was only when the visiting Jedi Knights intervened that the bounty hunters were finally stopped. This revelation shocked Ferrasi. She had been so intimidated by the Mothership's sheer size that the thought of exploiting its vulnerabilities never crossed her mind. Kenneth continued, Imagine the wealth contained within this Mothership and the colonies below. I have connections with the Black Sun through some friends from the Tau. I also have access to an old Hammerhead-class cruiser. It's a bit worn, but it's more than capable of breaching the 4th Group's defenses. Ferrasi raised an eyebrow. A cruiser? I thought the Hammerhead was a corvette. Kenneth nodded. Yes, but the one I'm talking about dates back to the Sith War, 1,200 years ago. It's 315 meters long, not the 116-meter frigate model developed later. It was bought as scrap on the black market, then refitted and refurbished. Now it's a formidable vessel, the likes of which Tatooine hasn't seen. Ferrasi's expression turned thoughtful. But how do we even get the message out? We're practically prisoners here. That's where you come in, Kenneth said, his tone conspiratorial. We're hostages, yes, but Quinto, our boss, is in league with them. When he returns, we can relay our plan. Imagine the life we could lead if we take over this mothership. Ferrasi considered the proposal. And what's in it for us? Occupying the mothership sounds more like your friend's ambition than ours. Kenneth grinned. It's simple. We negotiate a split. 2 for us, 8 for them. They'll jump at the chance. Besides, once we're in control, the possibilities are endless. Ferrasi mulled over Kenneth's words. The plan was audacious, fraught with danger, but the potential rewards were too tempting to ignore. As she stared out at the stars, a new resolve formed within her. This could be their chance to escape the confines of their current life and seize a future beyond their wildest dreams. Do you not realize that managing and operating such a colossal mothership requires a skilled crew? We are the pioneers. Imagine, with time, we won't just be talking about 120,000 credit points. We could be toes, seeing hundreds of thousands at the casino in Canto Bay. Ha! Kenneth's laughter filled the air, but it abruptly ceased as he became alert and scanned their surroundings. So what do you say, big sis? Are we in? He inquired once more. Felicity remained silent, her gaze turning icy. Tang Xiao, Kunte, and their companions made their way back to the mothership. Despite the dangers they faced, their mission was a narrow escape from disaster. Yet, the most significant victory was not just the 100,000 Republic credits they had earned, but also the acquisition of a YVX 8-Hex-65 Oro-class cargo ship. This vessel, measuring 52.3 meters in length and 16.44 meters in height, featured a trapezoidal hull design. Its solid wings, positioned at the bottom, spanned 42.33 meters, with the engines mounted at the wingtips. Although considered outdated, the Oro-class cargo ship was still favored in many sectors for its substantial load capacity and dependable performance. The market value of a new Oro-class cargo ship stood at 240,000 Republic credits, making their find a significant asset. With the addition of this ship to Munte's YT-1000 light cargo ship, the Fourth Civilization now boasted a second hyperspace-capable vessel, greatly facilitating their operations. However, their triumph was short-lived. What did you say? We were attacked by bounty hunters? Tang Xiao leaped from his seat, disbelief and anger mingling in his voice. Qijian and Clement, standing solemnly before him, confirmed the grim news. Yes, 3 bounty hunters' spaceships appeared in the Endor galaxy out of nowhere and launched a surprise attack. And our losses? Tang Xiao asked, his voice heavy with concern. Qijian inhaled deeply before responding. We initially dispatched 4 squadrons, totaling 48 fighter jets, followed by an additional 20 fighters and reconnaissance planes. In the end, 31 blade fighters and 3 aero reconnaissance planes were destroyed, resulting in the loss of 34 pilots. Additionally, 4 small transport ships at the collection station were obliterated, with 8 pilots killed. Tang Xiao struggled to find words, the weight of the losses rendering him speechless. Our fighter jets are simply no match for their spacecraft. The disparity is too vast, Qijian admitted, his fists clenched as he fought to control his emotions. Now I understand, Manager. Your foresight was correct. Even with the Blade 2 fighters, we were outmatched. We must expedite the deployment of the Ghosts if we are to stand a chance. Master, please display the battle footage, Tang Xiao requested, determined to assess the situation firsthand. All right, Manager, came the response. Vol 2, Chapter 31, Lesson 1. The screen before me displayed the harrowing footage of an asymmetric air battle. I watched as 3 bounty hunter spaceships, unmanned and part of the Fourth Civilization's fleet, struggled ineffectively against their opponents. Their shields barely flickered under the assault of infrared laser weapons, which lacked the power to do any real damage. In stark contrast, the turbo laser cannons and blaster cannons on the opposing ships were devastating, each shot ensuring the destruction of a blade fighter. The toll was heavy. 34 fighter jets and their pilots were annihilated, along with 4 transport ships and 8 more pilots, leaving no survivors, no chance for escape. It wasn't until Jedi Knights Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi intervened that the tide turned. With superior piloting, they managed to eliminate all 3 bounty hunters using just 1 ship before departing, Clement narrated. Witnessing this tragic battle filled Tang Xiao with a seething rage. Under the surge of his original power, small objects around him began to tremble, mimicking the onset of an earthquake. Once the video concluded, he took a moment to compose himself, then summoned Feng Yongwang and Guan Yan. "How long until the ghost fighter is ready, given our current pace?" he inquired without preamble. Feng Yongwang responded, "With the addition of 2 elite experts in computing and engine design, our progress has accelerated. However, we're still looking at a timeline of about 6 months. He glanced at the video screen, his expression hardening. "We're prepared to work tirelessly, around the clock if necessary, to complete the development." Tang Xiao, however, cautioned against overexertion. Rushing leads to errors. It's crucial to balance work and rest to avoid mistakes that could have dire consequences during the research phase. Turning to Guan Yan, he outlined his expectations. "I need your team to focus on 2 key areas. First, with the small space dock operational, we must introduce at least 1 type of corvette into our production line. Second, we must explore every avenue to enhance the Blade Fighter's combat capabilities during this interim." Guan Yan nodded, indicating they already had plans in motion. Feng Yongwang elaborated, "We're close to completing our analysis of the Ghost Fighter's weapon system. Its primary armament, the Gemini missile, is an exceptional air-to-air weapon. Once our analysis is finished, we'll equip the Blade Fighter with this missile." Guan Yan added, "We're also advancing the development of primary energy shields and compact nuclear fusion engines. These technologies are nearing readiness and will significantly boost the Blade Fighter's energy supply. This enhancement will not only increase the infrared laser cannon's power, but also fortify the fighter with a primary energy shield, making it substantially more formidable." However, there was a concern. "Our main challenge is a lack of manpower. Our current team is stretched thin, with only 6 members available to analyze the light frigate. Expanding our team would require more laboratories, equipment, and space, all of which take time to establish," Guan Yan explained. Tang Xiao assured them, "I'll do everything in my power to address the issues of manpower and resources. Let's prioritize the frigate for now." Currently, the team was working on 2 primary light frigates, pushing the boundaries of their capabilities to ensure the safety and superiority of their fleet in the face of daunting challenges. Choosing between 2 frigate models, the Knight-class light frigate and the Hammer-class frigate, Tang Xiao decisively opted for the latter, prioritizing its superior armor protection and firepower. He decided to postpone the consideration of spacecraft from other technology systems until they had more resources and personnel. Guan Yan, after agreeing with Tang Xiao's decision, requested additional attention to staffing and experimental facilities before departing with Feng Yongwang. Tang Xiao, after a moment of contemplate, instructed Qijian to expedite the training of a crew for the recently captured YV-865 Oro-class cargo ship. He emphasized the importance of finding elite pilots to operate the vessel. Qijian reported that the wreckage of 3 bounty hunter spaceships had been salvaged, and 2 functional turbo laser cannons were recovered. These cannons would be mounted on a transport ship to enhance their firepower, a move Tang Xiao commended. Despite the unexpected early detection by their adversaries, Tang Xiao reassured Qijian, highlighting the inevitability of challenges and sacrifices on their path. He encouraged Qijian, viewing their current situation as a valuable learning experience and a precursor to future trials. Upon reviewing the personnel list, Tang Xiao discovered several elite pilots available for duty. Among them, he chose Glory Judith, a highly skilled black female pilot, to helm the YV-865 Oro-class cargo ship. Her selection was not influenced by any superficial reasons, but by her impressive physical stature and formidable skills. Standing at 1.72 meters tall and weighing 172 kilograms without an ounce of obesity, Judith was a force to be reckoned with. Known for her rigorous approach in flight simulation training and her prowess in the fighting ring, Tang Xiao saw her as the perfect candidate to keep any unruly crew members in check, particularly Quinto. He envisioned that if Quinto ever stepped out of line, Judith would be more than capable of handling the situation, ensuring discipline and order among the crew. Vol 2, Chapter 32, Developments. As the situation had evolved to its current state, Tang Xiao began to harbor concerns about Quinto and the others' loyalty and reliability. "Qijian, did anyone else witness the battle?" Tang Xiao inquired. Besides the two Jedi Knights, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, there was another observer. He's one of the 3 militants we apprehended on the planet Dawn previously. His name is Kenneth. Lelia, who has been studying for a few years and is among the more educated in their group, often had him teach our people Galactic Standard Language. The classroom he used for teaching had a clear view of the aerial battle, Qijian explained. A cold smile crept onto Tang Xiao's lips as he leaned back, crossing his legs, but remained silent. "Why are you still concerned about Quinto? If he has any sense, he would realize after witnessing Hago's fate that we are in this together." Munter commented, "I'm not worried about him. Even if he betrays us by revealing our secret rescue of Sema to Hago, he must know that his knowledge makes him a liability, hastening his demise," Tang Xiao said with a sneer. "It's others, like Kenneth, we should be wary of," Munter added. "Keep an eye on them discreetly to see if they make any moves. Since we plan to utilize them, we must ensure they are indeed reliable. If necessary." Tang Xiao made a throat-slitting gesture. "I suggest we adopt a long-term perspective. Establishing good relations with local forces in this universe is crucial. Despite only seeing the tip of the iceberg, the power this universe wields is formidable. Quinto, with his timid and cowardly nature, along with his smuggling experience and familiarity with various factions, is exactly what we need. Instead of disposing of them hastily, we should give them a chance and observe their actions first," Village Tay advised. "All right, I'll leave Quinto's matter in your hands," Tang Xiao agreed, taking the advice. "Don't stray too far lately to avoid repeating past mistakes. I've awakened an elite pilot named Judith, who will start training to pilot the Oro-class cargo ship. She'll handle the Mothership's defense for now, but you must also be ready to act at a moment's notice." "Understood," the village head nodded. "Also, take all 100,000 credit points, and perhaps visit Tatooine to see how best to spend the money, if you catch my drift," Tang Xiao suggested. "Consider it done. And manager, you don't need to worry about everything. How else would we earn our keep?" Kunte gave Tang Xiao a thumbs up, grinned, and then left the command center. Tang Xiao rubbed his forehead and chuckled at himself. Indeed, there was no need to micromanage. Being in such a position, he should empower his subordinates. If he tried to oversee scientific research, personnel, combat, diplomacy, and smuggling all by himself, how could he possibly manage? This was a common pitfall for many new to leadership, thinking they were the only ones capable of handling tasks. However, there were many capable individuals, provided they were given the opportunity. With this realization, he reopened the personnel list, his gaze landing on a legendary figure's name. Yet, he hesitated to make a decision, and, with a wry smile, whispered to himself, "Just wait." Meanwhile, a Z-10 Explorer-class spacecraft approached the planet Coruscant, the capital of the Galactic Republic. After clearing the defensive fleet's inspection, it made its way to the Jedi Temple. "What's on your mind, Obi-Wan?" Qui-Gon Jinn asked, noticing his apprentice staring out the window, lost in thought. Obi-Wan Kenobi shared his concerns with his master, Qui-Gon Jinn, about a group they encountered in the Endor galaxy, known as the Fourth Group Company. Despite claiming to be a business, their actions suggested otherwise. Obi-Wan pointed out that even major organizations like the Trade Union and the Interstellar Banking Association did not have such systematic training for their pilots, hinting that the Fourth Group might be more akin to a regular army. Qui-Gon Jinn agreed, noting Obi-Wan's keen observation and expressing his own unease about the situation. They decided to report their findings to the Jedi Order's Supreme Council for further guidance. Upon their return to the Jedi Temple, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan presented their findings to the 12-member Supreme Council. Master Yoda, after hearing the report, inquired if they had discovered anything else, particularly about the disturbance in the Force they had been investigating. Qui-Gon replied that the disturbance was fading, but its source remained a mystery. Master Mace Windu, a prominent figure in the council, second only to Master Yoda, took a keen interest in the report. He asked for more details about the Fourth Group Company, noting their claim of being a business with a massive spacecraft, yet lacking in military capabilities and defenses. Qui-Gon explained that the spacecraft, despite its impressive size, was not equipped for combat, and the fourth group's defense capabilities were minimal. This raised questions about their true intentions and capabilities, especially given their decision to colonize the remote planet of Endor. Master Yoda and Master Windu discussed the broader context of the galaxy's current state, with recent conflicts and unrest suggesting that the Jedi might not have the resources to further investigate the Fourth Group Company's activities in the remote regions of the galaxy. Master Windu suggested that the matter be referred to the Republic's Ministry of Commerce for investigation to determine if the Fourth Group was a legitimately registered enterprise. He commended Qui-Gon for his efforts and advised him to leave the matter to the Parliament. With a mutual exchange of, "May the Force be with you," Qui-Gon Jinn respectfully bowed and exited the conference room, leaving the council to deliberate on the next steps. Vol 2, Chapter 33, The Dark Curtain, gradually lifts. Emerging from the tower of the Jedi Temple, Obi-Wan Kenobi caught up to Qui-Gon Jinn, who was briskly making his way down the path. "Master, do we really have to go through the Republic's Ministry of Commerce for this investigation? At the rate they operate, I might be 90 by the time they even start to consider it," Obi-Wan expressed his concern. Qui-Gon shook his head with a sigh. "You've heard the Supreme Council's decision. It's out of our hands." As they continued, they passed a room where a tall, gray-bearded old man was engaged in a conversation through a holographic communicator with a man dressed in an ornate robe. Feeling the gaze of the passers-by, the old man subtly gestured, and the door closed on its own. "That's Master Dooku. He seems to be in talks with Senator Palpatine. Their recent closeness has become quite noticeable," Obi-Wan remarked with a hint of disappointment. Qui-Gon nodded. "My master has been disillusioned with the Jedi Order since the conflict in the Mandalorian system a decade ago. He now believes in resolving issues through political channels, so his rapport with Senator Palpatine isn't surprising." "What about the situation in the Endor system? Are we just going to ignore it?" Obi-Wan inquired, concern lacing his voice. "We'll handle it ourselves," Qui-Gon declared as he boarded their spaceship and programmed a direct course to Coruscant's administrative district. Observing his master's determination, Obi-Wan smiled. "So you've lost faith in the Supreme Council as well?" "It's not about losing faith. The Galactic Republic is facing so many crises right now that the Council can't possibly address them all," Qui-Gon explained, gesturing towards the co-pilot's seat. "But we have the means to act." Meanwhile, in the room they had passed, Master Dooku spoke to the holographic projection of Senator Palpatine. "That's the situation, Mr. Senator." Palpatine responded with a smile. "So, a group has taken a massive civilian spaceship to colonize Endor, and they've eliminated the bounty hunters you dispatched. It seems noteworthy, but perhaps not immediately concerning. Maybe in 200 years, Endor will become a part of the Republic," Palpatine mused. "With all due respect, Mr. Senator, Endor is situated in a remote sector of the Outer Rim. Even if a sovereign entity were to emerge there, it would be beyond the Republic's effective governance," Dooku countered. "That's precisely our goal, Master Dooku. We're striving to forge a galactic republic that is stronger and more capable. A republic that can, with a single decree, utilize the resources of the entire galaxy. On that day, we will be unstoppable," Palpatine declared, his arms wide open and his eyes filled with ambition. "You are a noble soul, a unique politician, Senator Palpatine. However, I must caution you that individuals like you often find it difficult to survive in this decaying galactic republic," Dooku stated solemnly. "Even if I were to be assassinated tomorrow, I would die knowing I was on the right path. My demise would illuminate the way forward. The Republic needs martyrs like me," Palpatine replied with conviction. Dooku took a deep breath, bowed, and said, "Your existence is a testament to the Republic's vitality. Thank you, Senator Palpatine." Palpatine returned the salute. "It's my duty, Master Dooku." After ending the communication, Palpatine left the Galactic Senate building and retreated to his modest dwelling. He exchanged his ornate senatorial robe for a simple gray cloak and concealed his identity with a hood. Ensuring he was unobserved, he discreetly boarded a levitating airship through a secret passage. In the shadowy, labyrinthine depths of Coruscant's industrial zone, Palpatine disembarked and activated a unique communicator. The holographic projection of a formidable woman with a facial tattoo appeared. Upon seeing Palpatine, she exclaimed, "You finally decided to contact me. Let's hope your anticipation is worth it next time." Maybe Palpatine's voice grew dark and hoarse, reminiscent of an ancient beast with a wounded throat, as he declared, "Your nebula front is now under my control." The woman's temples twitched, a clear sign she was struggling to suppress her anger. She bowed her head slightly and asked, "What is our objective?" In 47 standard hours, a merchant fleet from the Trade Alliance will be transporting minerals along the Rima trade route to supply their operations. Your task is to hijack this shipment and deliver it to the planet Kalinda. There, an associate of mine will take care of the goods, Palpatine instructed, his voice low and menacing. "And the payment?" she inquired. "The proceeds will be laundered, and you will receive half, 2 million credits. The remaining 2 million credits will serve another purpose. You must deposit them into a bank trust fund under your name, which will then be directed to my agent." Palpatine explained. "As long as the money is secured, the rest is trivial." "Whose account will the credits be transferred to?" she asked, curiosity piqued. "The current president of the Galactic Council, Phoenix Valorum," Palpatine revealed, his voice dripping with a sinister glee. "Ha! Very well, we accept this task," she said, a smirk playing on her lips. In the outer space surrounding the planet Dawn, the solemn sound of a bugle echoed across the lower deck of the Mothership. Despite the absence of a military band, the electronic rendition of the bugle call did not diminish the somber atmosphere of the ceremony. Tang Xiao, clad in a crisp military uniform, stood at the forefront, saluting towards the void. Behind him, Chi-Jian and Clement, high-ranking officials of the Fourth Civilization, also stood in salute. Arrayed before them, 100 Marines formed two lines, their assault rifles with bayonets affixed pointed skyward. In the center lay 42 metal coffins, each bearing the newly designed emblem of the Fourth Civilization. The emblem, a galaxy with 4 spiraling arms, had 2 long swords crossed behind it, symbolizing strength and power. Atop was inscribed, "Fourth," and below, a phrase denoting the Fourth Civilization, or the Fourth Calamity. These coffins held the remains of 34 fighter pilots and 8 transport crew members who had fallen victim to a bounty hunter attack. This marked the first casualties the Fourth Civilization had suffered since their arrival in the Star Wars universe, a somber reminder that they would not be the last. Tang Xiao took a deep breath, his voice steady yet filled with emotion. They were the finest warriors, the most skilled pilots. Given a fair chance, each could have easily bested the bounty hunters. Yet, they were forced to fly outdated fighters. His voice grew more forceful. But even so, they did not hesitate. Despite knowing their weapons were ineffective against the enemy's shields, aware that a single shot from the enemy's laser cannon could obliterate them, they did not falter. They knew they were the guardians, the protectors of the last spark of our Fourth Civilization. Vol 2, Chapter 34, Towards the Peak. The soldiers carefully handled the coffins that held the remains of the martyrs, placing them one by one onto the conveyor belt for cremation. These heroes would eventually find their final resting place in the soil of Dawn, their new homeland. This land also represents the Fourth Civilization, a civilization these brave souls protected with their very lives. Returning to the Earth is a deeply held wish for many, and it has become the most noble of ceremonies for the Fourth Civilization. As Tang Xiao observed the solemn proceedings, a fiery emotion welled up within him, difficult to express. Although silence was all that was required of him at the moment, he felt a compelling need to speak, to honor both the fallen and the living. Fate has led us to this mothership, uniting us. It has thrust us into this unknown universe, presenting us with countless challenges. It was fate, too, that brought pirates to our doorstep when we were most vulnerable. Tang Xiao began, his voice steady and clear. We can question everything, but remember, fate does not dictate surrender, he continued, his gaze sweeping over the gathered crowd. If asked about my belief in fate, I would say I both believe and disbelieve. I acknowledge that there seems to be a preordained path, an invisible hand guiding us. Yet, I refuse to accept that our future is predetermined by anyone or anything. With every hand raised, we assert control. With every step forward, we carve our own path to the future. If anyone dares say our downfall is inevitable, I'll declare we'll outpace them all. Should our legs fail us, we'll use our hands. And if our hands aren't enough, we'll join hands with thousands more. But fall? Never. We will not succumb to so-called fate. Our fourth civilization has endured unimaginable hardships. We've faced 3 cataclysms, losing everything, the Milky Way, Earth, our very homeland. Yet, here we stand, in a new universe, ready to face whatever comes. We will not be defeated again. We will continue to fight. We will rise once more, because we are the fourth civilization. With those final words, Tang Xiao descended from the platform, personally taking a jar of ashes, and proclaimed, "Salute to the 42 martyrs, and to the countless others who will follow." "Salute to the martyrs," echoed the crowd, their voices united. They stood at attention, saluting with tears in their eyes. The soldiers fired their rifles in salute, the crisp sound marking a poignant farewell to the departed. Tang Xiao, observing the fervent expressions around him, took a deep breath, feeling a surge of determination. On a sunny hillside of Dawn Planet, where the grass was lush and the sun warmly embraced the land, Tang Xiao stood atop, overlooking 42 new graves. Each grave was marked with a 4-armed tombstone, reminiscent of the Milky Way, bearing the names and stories of the martyrs. The deeper Tang Xiao immersed himself in his role as a leader, the more he felt connected to this world and its inhabitants. Standing before the graves of the 42, he realized he could no longer remain a mere observer. He felt a spectrum of emotions, sorrow, exhilaration, melancholy, and hope, all for the sake of the beings in this world. He was truly one of them now. Gazing up at the vast sky where the giant gaseous planet of Endor loomed large, Tang Xiao pondered, "You brought me to this universe, but for what purpose?" No answer came, as expected, but Tang Xiao's gaze shifted to the thriving town below. Dawn City was transforming, no longer a collection of makeshift shelters, but now home to buildings 4 or 5 stories tall, signaling the dawn of a new era. Surrounding the area, immense wind power stations stand tall, their slender blades gradually turning as the wind caresses them. In the distance, beneath the mountains, the construction of a mining field has reached completion. Steel mills and processing plants have sprung to life, emitting purified white water vapor from their towering chimneys. Trucks laden with goods weave a co-instant path between the mines, factories, and the city, marking the landscape with their industrious passage. Near the lake, 4 expansive hydroponic farms, each spanning more than 50 meters in diameter, boast hemispherical glass covers that seal their interiors. These farms meticulously simulate Earth's climate, nurturing a variety of terrestrial crops within their controlled environments. On the lake, over a dozen fishing boats are engaged in a bustling harvest, casting their nets to tap into the seemingly boundless fish resources. This lake, connected to the groundwater network of Dawn Planet, serves as a gateway to the aquatic bounty of the entire planet. On the city's opposite side, open-air farms and livestock bases thrive. Here, agricultural workers, aided by advanced machinery, diligently tend to their tasks. A colossal waste collector, discreetly nestled in a hidden canyon, processes all sewage, waste from the cities and factories, and a significant amount of excrement. This facility, though off-limits to outsiders, plays a crucial role in mitigating environmental pollution on Dawn Planet, provided the waste is periodically expelled into outer space or a star to prevent catastrophic buildup. Dawn City, home to over 5,000 residents, has seen the establishment of various essential services. The Fire Department, Public Security Bureau, Water Supply and Power Supply Department, and Administrative Management Department are all operational. The city also houses 2 schools, catering primarily to the adult population's need for professional and technical education, due to the prevalent use of information input for learning among the adopted frozen embryos. One school offers a range of specialized knowledge to residents looking to expand their skill sets, while the other focuses on teaching Galactic Standard. Plans for children's schools are in the pipeline, albeit delayed by the pressing demands of construction. However, the city's development has hit a bottleneck. The modular buildings supplied by the mothership have all been utilized, necessitating the construction of new buildings using local materials. This includes the production of cement, steel bars, factory equipment, and parts, requiring the establishment of manufacturing facilities. Tang Xiao descended the hillside, making his way into Dawn City. The city buzzed with order and industry, its residents fully immersed in their work. Despite the daily grind, there was a palpable sense of joy among the populace, proud to see Dawn City flourish through their collective effort. This place was their home. "Hello, manager. Salute to you." "Manager, this is a pumpkin we just harvested on our farm. Would you like to try it?" As Tang Xiao entered the city, residents greeted him warmly, yet without letting their interactions disrupt their work. After offering their respects, they promptly returned to their tasks. Tang Xiao responded with a smile to each greeting, a silent vow strengthening in his heart. He was determined to protect these people, to lead them to the pinnacle of the galaxy. Vol 2, Chapter 35, Mansion. Tang Xiao arrived at the City Hall of Dawn City, where Gulaham was overseeing an administrative team tasked with managing the city's operations. Gulaham's team collaborated with Daphne Clement's team. The former handled the specifics and day-to-day work, while the latter was in charge of overarching strategies. Additionally, Clement was responsible for coordinating construction projects in cosmic space, and sometimes resources from the Interstellar Collection Station were allocated to support Dawn City. Tang Xiao's visit to Gulaham was primarily concerning a master aerospace scientist. This scientist's expertise spanned a wide range of fields, including aircraft engines, energy supply, aerodynamic design, and materials science. However, his demands were quite specific: a luxurious single-family residence equipped with a large-scale wind tunnel laboratory and a seasoned research team. Tang Xiao needed to fulfill these requirements promptly to awaken the scientist and have him lead Feng Yongwang's team in accelerating the development of the Ghost Fighter. Days had passed with no progress, causing Tang Xiao considerable anxiety. The recent encounter with a bounty hunter had been a wake-up call. The technology of Homeland, especially its primary technology, was significantly behind that of the Star Wars universe. To protect the Mothership and Dawn Planet, equipping the Ghost Fighters was of utmost urgency. "Manager, I'm truly sorry. We've had the engineering team working overtime to construct the large-scale test site, and the Mothership's manufacturing plant has prioritized producing the necessary experimental equipment. But the issue is, we're struggling to find a mansion that meets the master expert's luxurious standards," Gulaham explained, visibly distressed. "Is finding a mansion more challenging than setting up a laboratory filled with advanced instruments?" Tang Xiao asked, clearly dissatisfied with the response. "We can't source the furniture, decorations, carpets, crystal chandeliers, and antiques required for the mansion," an administrative staff member added, nervously. Tang Xiao paused, then said, "Are you serious?" He stopped himself from completing his thought and sighed. "It's been 1,202 years, and you still believe a mansion requires all these things." He quickly realized the root of the misunderstanding. "Your understanding and knowledge are limited. Please, let me show you the way," he said. "Let's go see the mansion intended for him," Tang Xiao suggested, leading the way. Gulaham and a few administrative staff members hurriedly followed. They arrived at a clearing on the outskirts of Dawn City, near a lake and adjacent to an open-air farm. The location boasted beautiful scenery. A 2-story villa stood there, its design chic and elegant, a testament to the architect's efforts. However, the villa was bare inside, with several empty rooms and an unfinished swimming pool in the back garden. "Manager, this," Gulaham began. "Enough, I understand," Tang Xiao interrupted, gesturing to the surroundings. "Who said luxury must include velvet rugs and crystal chandeliers? The trend now is a return to nature. Look at the wealthy, who doesn't own a manor in the countryside." The administrators listened intently as Tang Xiao outlined his vision for a luxurious, yet nature-oriented residence. His perspective shifted their understanding of luxury, emphasizing the importance of simplicity, natural beauty, and functionality over traditional opulence. With renewed clarity, they set out to fulfill the aerospace scientists' requirements, confident in their ability to create a residence that would not only meet but exceed his expectations. Tang Xiao stepped out to the window, gesturing towards the lush, untouched landscape outside. If you're dreaming of a mansion, it should embrace nature. See those wildflowers? We should bring them here. A single pot? No, we need enough to encircle each room and fill the bathroom. He then turned his attention to the exterior of the house. Notice how the walls are bare, without tiles or paint. I spotted some vines over there. Let's bring them here and cover the entire house. One layer won't do, we need two. And let's not forget to place a few bird nests on the windowsills. Waking up to the sound of birds and the scent of flowers is a luxury far beyond any crystal chandelier. And the swimming pool. We'll fetch some aquatic plants from the lake and scatter them around and ask the fishermen for some colorful fish. Arrange the plants in a heart shape for a touch of romance. As for furniture, why not keep it simple and natural? Solid wood is all the rage, and here we have an abundance of trees. No need for fancy materials. Just cut down a tree, split it in half, and set it on legs for a table. It's the epitome of eco-friendly and sustainable living. The flooring. We'll smooth out some logs and throw down some rugs. Where do the rugs come from, you ask? Well, we traded chocolate with the Ewok people for their hair, which will bind together with glue. The bed will be the easiest part. Embrace nature, remember? We'll gather grass and wheat from the fields to make a soft, natural bed. And for those who think it's too rustic, we can always upgrade to fur. Yes, fur. The Marines have been hunting recently. We'll have them aim for non-vital areas to keep the pelts intact. Then, we'll use the entire hide for the bed, skulls included. Imagine, surrounded by the aroma of plants, the scent of wheat, sleeping beside the pelts of wild animals. That's not just a brand, it's the definition of luxury. Doubt it? Check the city center. A house like this would start at $100,000 per square foot. What's that? You want one too? No need for me, I'll stick to the Mothership. A bit of hardship never hurt anyone. Volume 2, Chapter 36, A New Legendary Class. After conducting a thorough inspection, the notebooks of several administrators were filled to the brim. Tang Xiao approached Gulaham, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder, and imparted some wisdom. Remember, this is the standard we set for such estates. Should we have more guests in the future, they are to be treated with the utmost care. Provide the finest service, ensure that all provisions are fresh. Water the plants generously and fertilize them well. If you find yourself short on fertilizer, reach out to the Ministry of Public Health. They manage a vast waste collection system and can supply whatever you need. Our goal is to immerse our guests in the embrace of nature, letting them experience true luxury. Absolutely, I'll see to it right away. Gulaham responded eagerly, nodding in agreement. Gulaham's efficiency was commendable. As Tang Xiao exited the villa, he noticed workers beginning to gather wildflowers and vines from the surroundings for transport. Curiosity piqued. Tang Xiao pointed towards several tower cranes at the mountain's base and inquired, "What's happening over there? Are there any major construction projects in the city?" Indeed, we're planning to establish a firearms factory in the industrial zone there. It will produce our Type 21 assault rifles, along with 5.56mm caliber bullets and 30mm caliber grenades, Gulaham explained. Tang Xiao, intrigued, asked, "Have you considered manufacturing laser guns? We've captured some blaster guns before, haven't we? What about their energy production?" Gulaham elaborated. After Chief of Staff Chijan evaluated the advantages and disadvantages of various firearms, it was decided that laser guns weren't feasible for us. The infrared lasers we have access to have too long a wavelength, causing excessive scattering in the atmosphere, which diminishes their effectiveness. However, our technicians analyzed the blaster guns and discovered their ammunition consists of a unique flammable and explosive gas, significantly more potent than conventional gas. Until we can reliably procure this explosive gas, producing blaster guns is off the table. Tang Xiao nodded in understanding. He recalled how, during their mission on planet Loan, they had effortlessly overpowered bounty hunters armed with blaster pistols by utilizing the rapid fire rate of their assault rifles. Whether it was bullets or explosives, any weapon capable of taking lives was valuable in his eyes. After spending a night in Dawn City, Tang Xiao, accompanied by a brand new T-850 model, the previous one was undergoing repairs due to extensive damage, found a picturesque spot to sit and enjoy the distant views. He took a deep breath, savoring the natural surroundings. He had noticed that the origin force within him replenished much faster here than in space, where its recovery was significantly slower. Additionally, he realized his control over the force had improved, especially when his emotions were heightened, though he was cautious not to let his feelings dictate his actions. Emotional impulsivity could lead to reckless decisions, something he couldn't afford given his responsibilities. Adopting a cross-legged position, a posture he had seen monks use for meditation, Tang Xiao felt it helped him focus better. He immersed himself in the natural world around him, tuning into the earth, the air, the grass, the trees, the startled birds, and the scurrying animals. After 4 hours of meditation, the T-850 interrupted the silence. "Manager, you've been meditating for 4 hours. During this time, you've missed 2 calls from Graham, 4 from the Master, and 1 from Clement." Opening his eyes, Tang Xiao exhaled deeply, releasing any pent-up tension. With a casual wave of his hand, a stone levitated towards him and landed firmly in his grasp. Pleased with his progress, he couldn't help but feel satisfied with his performance. Tang Xiao smiled slightly and requested, "Help me connect with the Master." The T-850 complied, placing wireless earphone as on Tang Xiao. Soon after, the Master's voice emerged from within. "Manager, another legendary figure has met the awakening conditions and is ready to be awakened." Tang Xiao's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Understood. I'll return to the Mothership on the transport ship immediately." During his journey back, Tang Xiao eagerly opened the personnel list, curious to discover which legendary figure was eligible for awakening. He had begun to understand some patterns. The legendary characters were all from movies, TV shows, and games he had watched. These characters were pivotal in their respective universes, each possessing exceptional skills in their unique domains. For instance, Munte, who had been awakened earlier, demonstrated extraordinary spaceship piloting skills. He managed to navigate a YT-1000 light cargo ship through a blockade, evading 3 generous-class frigates and numerous Vulture robot fighters with ease. Even though it was for a brief period, another character, the Village Special, showed a natural talent for building rapport with those around him. Regardless of their power or race, he used his charm and sense of humor to bridge gaps and gather the information he needed. However, the progress of the Fourth Civilization was currently stagnant, limiting Munte's potential and preventing him from fully unleashing his capabilities across the galaxy. Tang Xiao believed that once Munte was free to explore, he might bring back unforeseen and substantial rewards. Thus, Tang Xiao had been contemplating awakening another legendary figure, one who was incredibly dangerous yet immensely powerful. The mere mention of this figure's name carried a sense of intimidation. Before he could muster the courage to approach this individual, the opportunity to awaken another legendary figure presented itself, a delightful and unexpected surprise. However, when Tang Xiao accessed the Mothership system through the chip implanted in his brain and reviewed the list of legendary characters eligible for awakening, his smile gradually faded. He recognized the name on the list. This individual was undeniably powerful, but his actions were morally ambiguous. This man wasn't inherently evil, nor was he particularly virtuous. Yet his decisions had led to the deaths of hundreds of thousands. He wielded the power to dictate the fate of many, not through military might or authority, but through commerce. He navigated the gray areas between right and wrong, light and dark, constantly battling his desires. Each time he gave in, he moved closer to darkness. Despite the pain and regret that accompanied each step, he pressed on without hesitation. Vol 2, Chapter 37, King of War. He is such a person. Unlike the previous names that had come up, Tang Xiao was not intimidated by him. In fact, he was somewhat looking forward to this individual's arrival, hoping it would bring something new to the Fourth Civilization. However, the mention of this name made Tang Xiao smile wryly. Based on his previous worldview and values, he would never have associated with such a person. Yet now, from his position as the manager of the Fourth Civilization, he found himself needing the strength of this very individual. It seemed even he was veering off onto a darker path. Perhaps this was just the beginning. Upon returning to the mothership, Tang Xiao made his way to his office and settled into his chair. He instructed his assistant to bring him a pot of hot coffee and 2 cups, setting them on the table in anticipation of his guest's arrival. A short while later, a polite knock sounded at the door. After Tang Xiao invited the visitor in, the door swung open to reveal a man in his 30s. The man was impeccably dressed in a black suit and dark red tie, his slightly receding hairline exposing a broad forehead, though his hair was neatly combed. His eyes, deep-set and tinged with melancholy, fixed on Tang Xiao as soon as he entered the room. Tang Xiao offered a smile to the man, Yuri Orlov, known as the King of War. "Hello, manager," Yuri greeted with a modest smile. He stepped forward respectfully, shaking Tang Xiao's hand with both of his, while simultaneously handing over a business card. "My name is Yuri Orlov, just an ordinary businessman." Tang Xiao examined the business card in his hand. It bore Yuri Orlov's name and a phone number that was likely unreachable. "I've reviewed your requirements. You're in need of weapons, and there's a market for them. 3 words, simple and clear, right?" Tang Xiao remarked. "It sounds simple, but it's complicated. However, I love it here. A vast market with a desperate need. Imagine if one day there's a Kalashnikov in every corner of this galaxy. That would be incredible," Yuri said, settling himself on the sofa across from Tang Xiao, his smile unwavering. "Why choose to deal in weapons instead of something less controversial, like tobacco or cars?" Tang Xiao inquired. "People always have needs, and where there's a need, there's business. People need to eat, so there's the food industry. But you see, people are always fighting. Throughout history, there hasn't been a single day of complete peace. Even our 4th civilization has endured 3 natural disasters and wars to get to where we are. So, the demand for means of war surpasses even the basic need for food," Yuri explained, spreading his hands. Understanding the point, Tang Xiao signaled to the T-850 standing by. The robot brought over a brand-new Type 21 assault rifle, placing it on the table, along with a manual. Tang Xiao gestured towards these items and asked, "Can you sell me this gun?" Yuri didn't immediately respond. Instead, he picked up the rifle, examining and handling it with expertise. "Good gun, 5.56mm caliber, gas-operated, rotating bolt, adjustable rear sight. It lacks a magazine, but a 30-round standard magazine would fit perfectly," he commented. After pulling the bolt and aiming at the T-850 in a mock shooting stance, he chuckled, handed the rifle back to the robot, and casually tore the manual in half, discarding it in the trash. "We don't need these things," Yuri stated, still smiling. "You're not concerned with how good the gun is, its accuracy, or durability. You're interested in how many people are using it, how many lives it has claimed, and most importantly—" "Go on," Tang Xiao urged. "If you can buy this gun, I'll arm an entire army for you," Yuri shifted the conversation, stating bluntly. "And what does this have to do with the gun?" Tang Xiao asked, puzzled. Yuri laughed softly, leaning in closer to Tang Xiao with a sly grin. "Because you really, really need an army," he said, bursting into laughter as he reclined on the sofa once more. The room filled with the sound of his laughter, leaving Tang Xiao to ponder the implications of Yuri's words and what they meant for the future of the 4th civilization. It was unclear whether he was laughing at Tang Xiao or at himself. War never changes," Tang Xiao mused silently. War has never changed," Yuri echoed, his smile tinged with a hint of melancholy. "I like that phrase. You'll make a fine leader, at least the type I admire. Now, what would you have me bring you?" The smile on Tang Xiao's face darkened. "I want everything in this galaxy capable of taking a life. I intend to use these tools to carve out a living space for our 4th civilization." "Oh, then you'll need to stock up, especially on ammunition." Yuri understood the gravity of the request. "I look forward to a fruitful collaboration," Tang Xiao said, extending his hand. Yuri grasped Tang Xiao's hand warmly, replying, "To a successful partnership, manager. Oh, and I have a younger brother, Vitaly Orlov. We always work together. I trust you'll have no objections to awakening him as well. After all, as the saying goes, brothers in arms. I'll enroll you both in the Galaxy Standard Language Intensive course. It's better when brothers learn together." Tang Xiao's grin took on a mischievous edge. "Ah, education, but who would fuss over the cost? Excellent, ha ha ha." Well, I shall take my leave now? Manager, Yuri said, spreading his arms in a gesture of farewell before turning to leave the office. Watching Yuri's departure, Tang Xiao couldn't help but smile wryly. It seems I've invited another dangerous individual into this galaxy. He poured himself a cup of cold coffee from the pot and took a sip. Then, he opened the list of awakened characters and, as expected, found Vitaly Orlov's name among the legendary figures. This sparked a realization in Tang Xiao. Despite Vitaly's abilities not seeming legendary, his presence on the list was justified. Legendary characters, after all, were those from video games. Some might not be as powerful as masters or even elites, but their status as video game characters granted them legendary status. So what about the next two categories? Tang Xiao pondered over the two question marks that followed, his mind racing with possibilities. Note 1. The long-awaited moment has arrived, featuring Xiaojing's favorite movie, unparalleled by any other. Vol 2, Chapter 38, Master Scientist. Another week has passed. During this time, Tang Xiao has been residing on Dawnstar, occasionally inspecting his ongoing projects. In his free moments, he seeks out serene spots on the planet for meditation. However, he often finds himself questioning the efficacy of his meditative practices, unsure of what he should focus on. Should he ponder over the construction plans for the following day? No, that would be the day the Ministry of Public Health is set to launch the inaugural disposable sewage treatment spacecraft near the waste collector. Such thoughts hardly make for a peaceful meditation, and even the beauty of his surroundings fails to uplift his spirits. After a while, Tang Xiao opens his eyes, feeling more perplexed than when he started. As usual, the T-850 updates him on the communications from the past several hours. Yuri Orlov has completed an intensive course in Galactic Standard Language, demonstrating considerable dedication. His brother, Vitaly Orlov, however, has shown less enthusiasm, often dozing off during lessons. Despite their differing levels of commitment, both brothers have been feeling restless. While Tang Xiao was meditating, they had joined Kun Te on a journey aboard the Lancer spaceship to Tatooine for an inspection. Yuri was also reported to be transporting over 100 Type 21 assault rifles. Yuri had sent a farewell message to Tang Xiao before departing, but since Tang Xiao was meditating at the time and it wasn't an urgent matter, they left after leaving a message. The message briefly mentioned that Kun Te had taken the Orlov brothers, along with Ferrasi and Quinto, to Tatooine. Additionally, an equipped T-850 bodyguard was assigned to accompany them. Munter also hinted that Ferrasi, Quinto, and their former associates might be plotting something, and the trip was partly to test the waters. Tang Xiao considers the use of T-850 robots as combat units to be extravagant. Their production is slow, and the required tantalum alloy is scarce. Even with mining operations on a heavy metal moon around Endor, the output of tantalum alloys remains limited. Thus, he believes the T-850 is best suited as a bodyguard for individuals of legendary status due to its high cost and rarity. Meanwhile, Dr. Guan Yan has sent an update on his research. The analysis of the primary fusion reactor has been completed, and adjustments are being made to the Blade Fighter's production line to equip it with an energy shield, enhanced propulsion, and a more powerful infrared laser weapon. The development of the Gemini air-to-air missile for the Ghost Fighter is progressing smoothly and will soon be ready for deployment on the Blade Fighter. Currently, Dr. Guan Yan and his team are dedicating their efforts to the development of the Hammer-class light frigate. However, they face significant challenges. The fourth civilization possesses only one small space dock, a modular structure from the Mothership primarily used for constructing transport ships to support the expanding mining operations in space. This leaves no capacity for building the Hammer-class corvette. The dilemma extends to constructing a new space dock, as the current engineering ships lack the efficiency required for such a task. This issue is mirrored on Dawn Planet, where construction has slowed considerably after depleting the modular buildings from the Mothership. The need for more efficient construction methods and equipment is becoming increasingly apparent. To mine and process materials such as rebar, cement, lime, sand, and gravel, the colony faced significant challenges. The mechanized exoskeletons equipped by the ground engineering team were proving inadequate for the increasingly complex construction work. The issues were manifold, each one a significant drain on resources, and the colony's appetite for materials was growing, pushing the capabilities of the mothership to its limits. Establishing a separate industrial system was becoming crucial to ensure the colony's independence from the factory workshops on the mothership. Next, Gulaham presented his report. He announced the completion of a large-scale aviation experimental base located outside Dawn City. Despite its simplicity, featuring a basic airstrip, a wind tunnel facility, and a few small laboratory buildings, the base was a significant step forward. It met all the requirements for advanced aeronautics and astronautics research, thanks to Feng Yongwang and his experienced team, along with the support from the Back to Nature initiative. However, Feng Yongwang had hit several technical roadblocks in the development of the Ghost Fighter. He expressed hope that a master-level expert could help overcome these challenges. And so, the day had arrived to welcome such an expert, Professor Qi Jianjun, a renowned figure in aeroengineering, aerodynamics, mechanical engineering, engineering automation, applied physics, and atomic physics. His credentials were impressive. He was a national treasure in his home country, leading breakthroughs in fifth-generation fighter jets and pioneering the development of the sixth-generation model. Known for his rigorous and meticulous approach, he had earned the nickname the Devil Professor from his students due to his demanding standards. Despite it being late at night, Tang Xiao, accompanied by Gulaham and several officials from the Dawn City Administrative Office, made their way to the airport to welcome the professor. As the transport ship landed smoothly on the tarmac and the hatch opened, Tang Xiao couldn't help but feel a surge of anticipation. Professor Qi Jianjun was not just any expert, he was a master-level talent with the potential to lead the Fourth Civilization's scientific research team in developing advanced fighters, a critical asset in the impending galactic war. An official from the administration department emerged from the spaceship first, turned around to say something, and then a timid-looking elderly man stepped out. He appeared to be in his 60s, with sparse hair meticulously combed over to disguise his thinning scalp. Dressed in a gray tunic suit, he took a few hesitant steps forward, resembling an old man who had just had an unfortunate encounter with a street hooligan. Yet, regardless of his unassuming appearance, he was a master in his field. Tang Xiao quickly approached to greet him, aware that the transport ship was already preparing for its next mission. This moment marked the beginning of a new chapter for the colony, with high hopes pinned on Professor Qi Jianjun's expertise to lead them towards technological advancements and victory in the challenges that lay ahead. Vol 2, Chapter 39, Respective Actions. Tang Xiao approached just in time to overhear an old man muttering, "That young lady on the plane earlier was quite clever. Why didn't she disembark with us?" Confused, Tang Xiao thought he might have misheard. "Pardon?" he asked, clearing his ears. Noticing Tang Xiao's approach, the old man greeted him with a warm smile and an outstretched hand. "Ah, you must be the manager. Pleasure to meet you." "Hello, Professor Qi. We've done our utmost to accommodate your needs. We've awakened you now in the hope that you might lend us your expertise and wisdom," Tang Xiao replied. However, the old man, Professor Qi, shook his head, his gaze drifting past Tang Xiao to survey the burgeoning colony behind him. "Why have you roused me so early? I had hoped to spend my retirement elsewhere." "Eh?" Tang Xiao was taken aback. "I've dedicated my life to my work, and now I seek rest. Yet I find myself restless, turning even a leisurely smoke in the garden into a project, fiddling with the tobacco like it's a propeller. I thought perhaps retiring to another planet might free my mind. I long for the luxury of sleeping in," Professor Qi explained with a hint of weariness. Tang Xiao was at a loss for words. "It doesn't really matter where I live. If you're capable of constructing mansions, then the material conditions here must be sufficient. With a competent technical team, my presence is hardly necessary. By the time I awaken, your scientific endeavors should already bear fruit. Wouldn't it be perfect for me to simply enjoy my retirement then?" Professor Qi mused. "So, you're saying we shouldn't bother you with trivial matters, and you're not interested in tackling major issues either?" Tang Xiao tried to clarify. Ah, to be a manager at such a young age, you do have a knack for understanding. Now, about that retirement mansion of mine? Professor Chi inquired with a twinkle in his eye. But you just said the mansion doesn't matter. Tang Xiao was bewildered. I still need somewhere to live, don't I? Professor Chi countered, leaving Tang Xiao dumbfounded. What happened to the revered professor and national treasure of aerospace? Why did he seem more like a capricious old man, envious of youth and eager for endless sleep? Gilaham, please escort Professor Chi to his mansion. It's late, and the journey has tired him. He deserves a good night's rest, Tang Xiao quickly instructed, eager to resolve the situation. After Professor Chi was escorted away, Tang Xiao massaged his temples, feeling overwhelmed. Manager, is this old man truly reliable? He doesn't seem like the powerful figure we expected, an administrative official whispered. Who said that? Professor Chi is a master in his field. A master, do you understand? Such individuals defy conventional judgment. Return to your duties and focus on your work. Dismissed, Tang Xiao commanded, dispersing the crowd. Tang Xiao then retired to his own mansion, planning to discuss matters further with Professor Chi the following morning. Meanwhile, on the planet Tatooine, located in the outer ring of the Milky Way, the Lancer YT-1000 spacecraft made a smooth landing. Munter, the pilot, shut down the engine and performed a final check, casting a disdainful glance at Yuri Orlov, who sat behind him with a pale face. We've arrived, esteemed businessman, Munter announced sarcastically. Unable to contain himself any longer, Yuri Orlov bolted from the spacecraft and vomited. His misfortune continued as an engineering robot, rushing to service the spacecraft, was hit in the face with the vomit. The soiled sensor caused the robot to careen blindly, eventually colliding with another robot carrying oil, which resulted in a chaotic spill. Oh, what on earth is this place? Yuri exclaimed, drenched in oil and frustration. Munter approached, tossing a towel to Yuri. Welcome to Tatooine, big businessman. Embarrassed, Yuri wiped his face, attempting to downplay his status. I'm merely a businessman, Mr. Munter. We all have our DS. Truda from Nikto, who managed the spaceship berth, was visibly annoyed as he addressed Munter. I'll charge you for the cleanup of these messes on the site, Munter. The last time Munter visited, he had claimed to be well acquainted with Truda. By the way, where are Quinto and the others? Didn't they come along? Munter inquired, picking up a steel pipe from the ground and playfully hitting an oil drum to signal Quinto. Come on, Quinto, let's grab a couple of drinks. Prompted by Munter's call, Quinto and Ferrasi hurried out from the cabin, with Ferrasi looking particularly disheveled. Their appearance drew a knowing laugh from a villager, who clapped Quinto on the shoulder and teased, Hey brother, you could have taken your time. The Lancer's cabin isn't soundproof, you know. Quinto, slightly embarrassed, tried to explain. No, we were just... Munter, smiling, wrapped an arm around Quinto's shoulder and gave it a reassuring pat, secretly attaching a button-sized bug under Quinto's collar. I went through a lot to convince the manager to let you two out. You won't cause any trouble, will you? He said, before leading the way. Let's go drink. It's been ages since I last had a drink on Tatooine. Ha! Meanwhile, Ferrasi had tidied up his appearance and followed as if nothing unusual had happened. On the other side, Yuri found himself in conversation with the old man Truda. He offered Truda a cigarette, lighting one for himself and then another for Truda. Truda's initial coughing fit turned into laughter as he struggled to speak clearly, the nicotine evidently affecting him. Anything big happening around here lately? Yuri asked, trying to gather information. Truda, struggling with his words, managed to mention, in Tatooine, it's always about fights and killings, but there's this group of Bosa people stirring trouble recently. Their leader, Broderick Gravel, just wrecked the Quarren's ship repair shop. Interesting. Where can I find them? Yuri inquired, offering another cigarette to Truda. Mos Eisley, Northwest District. Ha! This is amazing! Truda, now completely intoxicated, attempted to light another cigarette, his movements clumsy and his speech slurred. Vitaly Olaf, Yuri's younger brother, watched the scene with curiosity. With his brown curly hair and striking blue eyes, Vitaly was both handsome and slightly decadent. Are these aliens? They're reacting so strongly to cigarettes, he remarked. Yuri, trying to calm his brother's excitement, reminded him, yes, aliens. I've told you, there are thousands of them in the galaxy. Don't make a big deal out of it. But this is an alien. I've only seen them in movies. Are you sure they're not actors in costumes? Vitali was still in disbelief. Munter, overhearing their conversation, warned, "Be careful, Vitali. Some aliens can be quite dangerous." And what if we sold them cigarettes? Vitali pondered, always thinking ahead. Yuri dismissed the idea. Dawnstar's environment isn't suitable for tobacco cultivation. It requires a fully enclosed environment, and the yield would be low. Besides, I'm not interested in promoting something harmful to health. Vitali countered, "But guns are more lethal than cigarettes." Yuri, taking a drag from his cigarette, replied, "An AK-47 won't give you lung cancer. Trust me, Vitali, if what the manager said is true, and a conflict sweeps across the galaxy, cigarettes will be the least of our worries." Vol 2, Chapter 40, Crisis Strikes. Munter approached Yuri and said, "So, you're heading to the northwest area of Mos Eisley? I've heard it's quite chaotic there." "I thrive in chaos," Yuri replied with a laugh, then turned to Munter and added, "However, I'll need to borrow the T-850 that was assigned to you." Munter chuckled. "Aren't you and Vitali concerned that bringing 2 T-850s might be overkill? I thought you enjoyed a bit of danger." "True, but I prefer staying alive. It's only by surviving that we can continue to do business," Yuri said, clapping Munter on the shoulder. "As per our agreement, we'll reconvene after 24 standard hours." Shaking his head, Munter left with Quinto and Felasi for a bar in Mos Eisley. He explained that the trip was partly for business and partly for relaxation, especially after closing a deal that netted them 100,000 credit points. At the bar, Munter quickly reunited with the Twi'lek woman he had met previously. Their acquaintance had grown over time, and this meeting felt like a reunion of old friends. After sharing a few drinks, the atmosphere between them became increasingly flirtatious. Meanwhile, Quinto's demeanor turned grave as he watched Munter and his robotic bodyguard, along with Yuri, depart. He took a sip of his blue spashka drink, the unique aroma of krill from planet Saugen filling his mouth, but his mind was elsewhere. "What's the situation? What happened earlier?" Felasi inquired, locking eyes with Quinto after taking a sip of her drink. "Are you out of your mind? Planning something like this with Kenneth is dangerous. Don't you realize this could get us killed? Everyone in this group is ruthless. I barely escaped with my life last time," Quinto whispered harshly. "So what? It's not like we're dealing with some invincible force. They couldn't even handle 3 bounty hunters without begging for Jedi assistance," Felasi retorted. "But going after Iron Fang Kirkin? Do you have any idea who he is? He's connected to the Black Sun. How else could the Hutt tolerate his Hammerhead-class cruiser loitering near Tatooine?" Quinto whispered, his fists clenched in anxiety. Felasi glanced back at Munter, who was now entertaining the Twi'lek woman on his lap. She scoffed. "What do you suggest we do? Steal a spaceship and hold it hostage on planet Endor? I didn't leave planet Corellia with you to live like this. Listen, Tang Xiao has been good to us. Wouldn't it be better to live without constantly looking over our shoulders? If we go now, what do you think Iron Fang Kirkin will do to us?" Quinto said in a low, urgent tone. Felasi frowned, pondering for a moment, but his stubbornness prevailed. Trying to sound confident, he said, "It's too late. I've already sent the message." "What? When?" Quinto exclaimed in shock. "Kenneth told me that the second table at the entrance of the bar belongs to Kirkin's people. All it took was 3 knocks on their table, so just now I—" Felasi's voice trailed off, his bravado fading into apprehension. "You fool! We need to get out of here now. They'll be after us." Quinto grabbed Felasi's hand, attempting to flee the bar. However, as he stood up, an unseen force pushed him back onto his stool. Looking around, he realized they were surrounded by more than a dozen menacing figures. Quinto frantically searched for Munter, only to find his table empty. Munter had already left. Meanwhile, in a hotel room behind the bar, Munter was cursing under his breath about Iron Fang Kirkin and the Hammerhead-class cruiser, all while the Twi'lek woman, her head-tails entwining seductively, listened intently. Skillfully caressing the villager's back and whistling flirtatiously, she lamented, "Darling, that dice game you taught me earlier? I've lost again. I've nothing left to wager. What should I do now?" Munter's expression transformed in an instant as he embraced the disrobed Twi'lek woman with a mischievous grin, whispering seductively into her ear, "How about we play a game of truth instead? I'll ask you a question about someone you mig. He no. Iron teeth Kukin." A flicker of fear crossed the Twi'lek woman's eyes as she hesitated. "Why bring him up? His name alone terrifies people. Just tell me what you know, and I promise you a reward beyond your wildest dreams." Munter teased, his breath tickling her ear. The Twi'lek woman, enticed, licked her lips and reluctantly began. "I have a sister who's quite close to Kukin's navigator. Would you like me to invite her over? The two of us could." Munter burst into laughter. "Ha! No, the double reward today will be all yours." He scooped up the Twi'lek woman in his arms and headed towards the back room. Meanwhile, with his other hand discreetly in his pocket, he sent Tang Xiao the recorded conversation. At this moment, the Dawn planet remained oblivious to the looming crisis, with all operations proceeding smoothly. After welcoming the master-level chief engineer, Professor Qi Jianjun, Tang Xiao had escorted him to the mansion before retiring to his room in the city hall for some rest. No sooner had he climbed into bed than a scream pierced the silence. "Help!" The cry wasn't loud, but Tang Xiao, having awakened the force, sensed it immediately. An enemy? Had a beast infiltrated the area? Without a moment's hesitation, Tang Xiao leaped out of bed, not even pausing to don a shirt, and dashed from the second floor towards the source of the scream. He hadn't gotten far when he encountered an elderly man in shorts, looking utterly disheveled and clutching at some clothes, none other than Qi Jianjun. Now the man appeared exceedingly frazzled, his hair in disarray. The carefully combed hair meant to cover his balding had come undone, revealing a pronounced bald spot framed by a ring of long hair. Upon spotting Tang Xiao, Qi Jianjun seemed to grasp at hope, rushing over while exclaiming, "Monsters! There are monsters!" "Hold on, can you clarify what kind of monster you're talking about?" Tang Xiao urged, gripping his shoulder in an attempt to calm him.